Hello and welcome to the Shea Hates Everything Podcast, where we talk about video games, movies, comics, and other shit that matters. My name is Shea, and today I hate the New England Patriots.
My name is Kyle, and today I hate car problems.
So I'll just say, we're recording this on a Sunday morning. So this is the day, we're recording it the day of the Super Bowl, but before the Super Bowl. For those that don't know, the Super Bowl, Kyle, I'm assuming you don't know, the Super Bowl is the Patriots versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And fuck the Patriots. So I'm just going to say that as a blanket statement. Whether they win or lose today, it doesn't matter. I hate the Patriots. So I wanted to make sure we covered all of our bases.
Okay. Well, no, bases, that's baseball.
No, they implemented a new rule this year in football. You have to run to the bases in order to score, unless you are the Patriots, and then you're gifted 50 points at the beginning of the game.
Okay, is this in response to, like, the XFL saying they're coming back?
Oh, man, the XFL. I forgot to write that down. That's probably something that we could talk about. Maybe we can get to that. It's going to be
for
a
the
long
real
episode.
Patriots,
there's a lot to get through, but
the XFL.
Yeah, that's oh boy. That is a great marketing slogan, I think. Like, if the Patriots win, because, you know, the Patriots for years have been mired in this controversy about them cheating, and there was the Deflategate from a couple years ago.
Right. And
then before that, you know, Bill Belichick has been fined multiple times for cheating. There was a time several years ago in the playoffs where he stole the New York Jets' playbook, and so he was fined like $500,000 for that. And it's just like, I legitimately don't understand how anyone can root for the Patriots. I get it, they're good, they win a lot, but rooting for them is literally saying, like, I don't care if you cheat. Like, that's fine. I'm absolutely okay with cheating. There's not another excuse about it, and it really boggles my mind that so many people are willing to overlook that bullshit. But I could see someone from the XFL being like, the Patriots win. If you're a real Patriot, watch the XFL. We don't kneel during the national anthem. We don't have, you know, players with criminal records. Even though last time we had the XFL, like 15 years ago, there were like strippers as our cheerleaders, and there was no fair catch rule where you could just deck a player when he wasn't looking. But now we're legit. I don't know. It's so stupid.
Yep.
Trump's America.
Finally, you admit football's stupid.
No, the XFL is stupid. There are a lot of stupid things about football.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, football news is starting to happen, like trades and the rookie drafted stuff. Okay. And I pay a lot of attention to football, partially because of fantasy, partially just I'm a fan. And, like, I don't have an outlet to talk about it. Because Kelly knows more about football now after playing fantasy football last year, but she's not, like, interested in the NFL on a large scale. And, like, I talked to Dad about it, but he's not as into it as I am, and you certainly don't give a shit. So, like, I don't have a place to talk about. I don't have a place to talk about football. We should just turn this into a football podcast. Is basically what I'm saying.
Okay. Is there anyone at your job that is, like, into football or anything? Or
there is a guy that he does like football, and actually, I learned that he plays fantasy football. He doesn't seem to be as, like, hardcore into it as I am, but he showed up to work on Friday in a Patriots jersey. So, I told him we can't be friends, basically.
Is this also the guy you're going to complain about later?
No.
Okay. Different guys.
That's a whole other thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Stay
I'm excited
tuned
to complain about that. That's a little tease for Hate of the Week. I'm excited to rant about this because it fucking pissed me off. Like, irrationally pissed me off. But anyway.
Also,
so tell me about your car issues, man. We talked about this a little bit. But.
Yeah. So you and I basically had the same car at one point. You had a 95 BMW 94 BMW 318 IS.
Yep.
And I have a 99 323. And what happened to your car was, correct me if I'm wrong, the front end suspension got all sorts of worn out and messed up, and it would have been super expensive to fix it, along with a myriad of other small things that were wrong with it. And it just wasn't worth it.
Right. Yeah, because I was over 200,000 miles at that point. So it was, you know, I can sink a couple grand into this car, but what's that going to do? I'm just going to be a new issue next week.
Right. My car has just under 150,000 miles on it, and I'm having the same problem. My struts and shocks are blown and worn and dried out. I needed new so my inner and outer tie rods, the nut that attaches them had seized, and because my suspension was blown, it caused a lot of extra stress on the tie rods. So the tie rods were worn out. The outer the outer tie rods were worn out and the nut was seized. So they couldn't get the nut off the inner tie rod, so they had to replace both inner and outer on both sides. So we went ahead and did that. I needed new control arm bushings and ball joints on my front end, and I got that done. I desperately needed an oil change, so I got that done. I had been pushing that kind of to its limit. It had been a year and a half since an oil change, but only 6,000 miles. So...
it's still a long time.
I know. And I knew that going in. They're like, yeah, you probably waited a little too long. I was like, I know. Like when you go to the dentist and they're like, you should floss every day. And you're like, yeah, I know.
I haven't been to the dentist in like 7 years. So I don't know. I don't know what the dentist says.
Okay, you haven't gone to the dentist either? Okay, because I hadn't gone to the dentist in over 3 years when I recently went. And that's when they discovered I had like 10 cavities.
Well, there you go. It's because you haven't been in so long. And I take very good care of my teeth.
Oh, okay.
But I eat and drink more sugar than I should.
Yeah.
So I am a little worried that when I go there, I'm going to have problems. But like up until that point, I think I'd only ever had one cavity. And now I'm just like, I'll never go to the dentist ever again. And then I'll never have another cavity. That's the way it works, right?
Yeah. So like all these problems with my car, and there's a myriad of small things, like the passenger window doesn't work, my driver's side airbag again is faulty, and I think it's that sensor in the bottom.
I think my passenger window stopped working as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. This has been a long time ago, but I think that was the case with my car.
Like the paneling on the inside of the doors is coming loose, all of the fabric inside's coming loose, that kind of crap. Right. My radio had gone out, and so I replaced that myself. I installed a new radio, but a couple of my speakers are blown, so it's like that crackly sound. The driver's side door handle, the piece around the door handle that keeps it in place is gone because it broke and it came off. So the door handle is just like loose and rattly. It still functions the same, but when it's really cold, my driver's side door like freezes shut, and you have to yank really hard. And I'm afraid that handle's gonna
break it
off. So I have to.
And then you can't get off your car.
Yeah, I have to go in the passenger side.
That's actually I thought it was the window, but that's actually what happened with my BMW. The inside door handle broke. Something in the switch broke, and so you could only open that door from the outside, which made it really fun for anyone that rode with me in the car because they literally couldn't get out unless I let them out.
That's awesome. So there's all these problems. I got the control arm bushings and the ball joints fixed. The inner and outer tie rods. I had just put a new set of tires on it in December because I had a hole in one of my tires and the tread was low. So I just have a new set of tires put on there. So like the issues that are still wrong with it, they told me I need a whole new power steering system because I have leaks throughout. But I haven't noticed any fluid from where I've been parking. And now that I was getting a lot of complaint like turning the car. It's not hard to turn it. It's just like a lot of weird noises and like some whines and stuff. But now that they fixed the other stuff, I'm not noticing that as much. So I'm probably just going to let that one go. And if I begin to start having problems turning it, I'll bring it in and have them, or I'll just try and refill it. I'll just put more fluid in. Because it's going to be like $2,000 to replace the whole power steering system. And that's not worth like the occasional whatever $30 or whatever it is to buy a can of power steering fluid. They said my brake fluid needs to get flushed, stuff like that. But yeah, and I don't think I'm going to do the shocks or struts because I could probably get like another 4 years out of this car, 4 or 5 years before some more significant problems happen because they said my brake pads are fine too. And I think that's what I'm going to bank on because I don't drive my car long distances. I drive it to and from work, and that's like 13 minutes. And I don't drive on the highway because it's all back roads. So it's like the shocks and struts, it's only ever going to be a problem when I hit really big bumps or highway driving is when it's going to really wear on them. So I'm not going to worry about doing those because that's like another $2,000 on top of the $2,000 for my power steering. So it's like I could put $5,000 into this car and like it could all be brand new or whatever, but then I'm just waiting for something else to happen. So at this point, I paid $1,300 to fix what I fixed, and I'm gonna ride that thing into the ground and start saving up for a new car.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
So basically, welcome to the Shea Talks Football, Kyle Talks Car Mechanics podcast. It's our new format for the show.
That's it for this week. So thank you for listening.
Like, Kyle's going to talk through, and basically he's going to make up shit about cars. Like, the power struts, you got your
my headlight
tire, your tire spiggers, and you know, the fluid oil. You got to make sure you're topped off on your fluid oil.
Right, yeah.
And I'm going to make, like, color commentary football analogies. Like, so here's a guy that knows how to fix a car, John Madden style. And that's our new podcast format. So hopefully you guys enjoy.
Yep.
No. But this is going to be another doozy of an episode. Last episode was really long because we were both, like, playing lots of games and stuff. This episode is going to be long because we've both been playing lots of games and stuff. And there's actually, like, a lot of news to talk about. Yeah. And not just, like, this thing happened, but things that I think will cause interesting discussions.
Yeah, so things worth talking about. I guess
we can dive right in. So how about you start with some Vidya games? Actually, you know what? This is the most important part. Tell me about the Sea of Thieves beta. I'm most interested to hear about that.
Yeah, so the Sea of Thieves beta was this past weekend. Well, I guess when you're listening to it, it will have been 2 weekends ago. I played with one of my buddies. He came over one night. Same friend I played the Harry Potter board game with. He came over one night, and he had pre-ordered it on Amazon, so he had a key. So he's like, hey, punch this key in and download it. I want to see if it's any good. So I was playing solo, and I was having a lot of fun. I got grouped with this one person, and we were running around doing the pirate thing, and I felt really bad because it was just the two of us, and this person clearly knew what the hell they were doing, and I was like, playing an accordion, like, and they were sailing the ship by themselves.
How did the matchmaking work? Is it like Journey style where he just appears in your game?
So it's kind of its own thing. When you load up the game, you have 3 choices: play by yourself, play with one other crew member, or play with, I think it's like a total of 4 people, and that determines what size your ship is. So like if you're playing by yourself, you get the smallest sloop ship, but it's faster and nimbler than all the other ships. The mid-sized one is kind of like a decent. It's 2 people running this thing, so you have someone steering and someone on lookout, and then like the bigger size ship has like multiple sails. And it's like you need more people to run it in general, but it's much slower. It's harder to bring down, and there's more cannons, but it's much slower to turn. If you get all of the sails aligned with the wind, it can be really fast, but it's hard to keep all those sails aligned with each other all the time because the wind is changing.
And everybody's in the same world together, right? Like someone who's playing by themselves could be in the same world as the 4 people.
Yes.
Okay. And that's an interesting kind of strategy then.
Yeah. So when I was playing by myself with this one random person, I didn't have I didn't think I had my microphone hooked up, but it was actually pulling from my webcam mic. I found out much later without realizing it. And so this person was probably listening to my fiance, my friend, and I talking the entire time, which is actually kind of funny. But it's all proximity chat, I think, even within your own crew. So, like, someone from the island might not be able to hear you if you're on the ship.
Right.
But we ran around, the 2 of us, for a little while. This person, I think it was the name led me to believe it was a she. I'm going to refer to this person as a she. She found treasure, a chest, and brought it back to the ship. We pulled into port. She turned the chest, we pulled into port, and she was disconnected. So she was gone, and I was like, "Well, where the hell did she go?" Like, I guess I don't know what to do now because this person was essentially demonstrating what to do.
They were your guide,
yeah. And so I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then this other person was randomly put into my crew, and no
Okay.
notification popped up. I just saw this other person, and then the name popped up above their head in green, and they were there, and they were part of my crew. This person, I'm going to say their gamer tag, and you'll find out why. It is Mortal, capital M, capital O, RTUL. This person gets their jollies from fucking with people in not a great way. So there's a system in Sea of Thieves that allows you to punish people who aren't playing the game or like aren't being good crewmates, and it's you can put them in the brig, but you need a majority vote. So when you're playing with two people, there is no majority vote. You can't kick them, and you can't put them in the brig. So this person hopped into my game and grabbed the chest off of my ship that I had earned with this other person, and instead of turning it in, proceeded to lead me around and around for over an hour on like the island, like hiding the chest from me and like running away. And when they're carrying it, you can't grab it from them.
Yeah.
And so it was over an hour that I was chasing this person around, and like you can't, there's no friendly fire, there's no way to hurt them, like there was nothing I could do about it.
So you're saying that playing video games over the internet with strangers is a bad experience?
Half the time, because the first half
I'm
was
going to go out on a
awesome.
limb and say that it's more than half a time, but sure.
In my specific experience on this one night, on this one game, half the time. Because I had a great fun experience with this other person, like, because all the chat is contextual, like contextual prompts for the text chat. Like depending on the item you're holding, like if it's a spyglass, you have look over there or off the starboard bow and stuff like that. If you're up in the crow's nest, you have different prompts than if you're steering or messing with the sails. So like that stuff's really neat too.
Yeah.
So I was having fun exploring that with that person, and then this asshole came along and like was just trolling me the entire time. So my buddy and I both reported him on our accounts.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everyone else to report this person too, because that ain't cool.
That sucks.
So that was really, really, really frustrating because I was having a great time with it, and that just boom, I hit this wall with this person, and it completely killed my enjoyment.
And it's not the game's fault. I mean,
no.
I guess you could argue there should be a better way of getting rid of those types of people, or
but it's
to,
a beta.
Yeah, not allow him to steal your chest and do like there should be some sort of way, but it's not inherently the game's fault that people are scumbags.
Right. Or like even, hey, this person wants to join your crew, yes or no. And you can like then like let me turn the chest in before this person joins my crew.
Yeah.
Some way to gate that even. So I don't know. Then I pre-ordered the game, and my fiance pre-ordered the game, so we got 3 codes, and then we downloaded it on our computers, and then we were playing together. It was a lot of fun, like, because he was playing on my fiance's laptop, and I was playing on my computer, like right next to each other, and we had a lot. That was a blast. Like, communicating in real time, like, one of us up in the crow's nest where the other person was searching for the treasure, like, watching out for enemy ships and stuff, calling things out. There were a lot of really, really fun kind of emergent moments that came out of that experience. Like, as soon as you see another enemy ship, you're like trying to determine, okay, are they sailing this way? They're kind of sailing this way, but not quite.
Yeah.
Are we just gonna like 2 ships passing in the night kind of deal? And then like they make a hard turn straight at you, and you're like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck! Like, get back with the treasure, get back with the treasure! And like I'm gonna like raise the anchor, but I'm not gonna put the sails down yet, so we're only moving at a slow clip. But as soon as I lower those sails, like angle it properly before, as soon as I lower them, we're out of here. Like, it's it was so cool. And the actual treasure hunting is fun too, because you from the ports you get these missions, and they give you a treasure map. Now, the low-level stuff, it's literally just a map, and then you go to your ship map that has all the islands, and you're like, okay, the island looks like this island, so let's go there. Let's try to find the X marks the spot on this island, and we'll dig it up, put it on our ship, and we can either find more treasure and then bring it all back, or we can bring it back and kind of do it piece by piece. The higher level stuff, there's like, there's a riddle, and you have to go to the specific part or do this specific thing that has to do with the riddle. Like, I can't think of a great example of it, but it did lead to a little bit of frustration, though, because there was something about, like, go to the climber's descent underwater, something. So it led me to believe that, I go up here, and then I go down under these tunnels under the island. And instead of finding the place, I found another entrance to the tunnels. And so for about 40 minutes, I was searching the tunnels, and I never found anything. I had to actually climb up to the top in order for the event to trigger. So it was like...
so you kind of skipped a step.
Yeah, it was like a weird, specific order. And so, like, now that I know that, though, like, I know to do things very literally when it comes to oh gosh, what's the term? Like, the riddles or whatever.
Like the clues?
Yeah. So I don't know.
Do you think, like, do you think there's a good variety in those, or like enough where you're not going to get ones that are repeated? Was there any indication of that? Okay.
Well,
because that would be my fear. Like, there's this big world, but are you just going to end up doing the same thing over and over again?
Because you can buy the same quests more than once, but it takes you to different places. So the quest is almost like a difficulty level or the type of chest you're going after. Because there are also different types of chests. Like some that are worth more than others, and there's like a chest that cries every now and then. So if it's down in your ship's hold, your hold will start filling with water as it's crying. So it's like an added layer of like, okay, we got to bail out while we're sailing.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then it becomes this weird, like, okay, there are multiple chests on this island, so let's load the crying chest last, so it's not like filling our hold with water. There's another one that makes you drunk when you carry it. So that's like really hard to move around and like figure out where you're going. There seem like there are if they have more of those in the final game, that'll be really cool, because it's like a neat difficulty modifier they kind of throw in at the end.
Right.
And there was one long mission it was like 3 treasures long, and it led us like to an island and then to another one and then back to that other island and like different places and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. It was like, go to the island named this and search where the hangman's noose, like 6 paces south of the hangman's noose, stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun, and it evokes that, like, I think it evokes that, like, the mystery and the excitement and the adventure of treasure hunting really well. And it facilitates a lot of really fun moments. Like, the systems that are in place allow some really interesting things to happen. Like, we would pass a ship, and we're, like, firing at the ship, and they're firing the occasional cannonball back, and then some dude climbs up over the side of our ship. So he like they shot him out of a cannon towards us.
Wow.
And we just thought it was a cannonball that missed. And then he climbs up the side of our ship, and suddenly we're fighting this dude on our ship. It's like a ton of really cool stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's really, really neat. I think it's definitely something I'm going to pick up when it comes out, as long as I have people to play with, which I think I do.
Sure.
I did try to play that solo mode, like on your own ship, for about 10 minutes. I got on my ship, and I accepted a quest, and I went to the island, and as soon as I pulled up to the island, a 4-man ship rolled like around the corner of the island and just fucking decimated me. So, and there was nothing I could do about it. So that was more frustrating than fun, I think, because of how unfair it was. Because there was literally nothing I could do.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's designed in a way to, like, if you want to play single, you can, but it sounds like that's probably more for people that have done it a lot. And
it says
as a way
for
of
expert
encouraging
players.
you to play with other people.
Yeah. When you go to select that, it's like, are you sure it's for expert players?
Sure, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so, and like the music stuff, there are a couple different instruments, and the gold you're getting from returning these chests, you spend on like cosmetics. In the beta, there were no ship upgrades available. but presumably, upgrade your ship, change the sail design with your own emblem and crest and stuff, and do all these different things. And then there's a bunch of new cosmetic items. There are gold versions of the tools, which I assume, the shovel, I would assume digs faster. Maybe, I don't know. There's a blunderbuss you can buy because to start with, you have a pistol with 5 shots, and it takes a little while to load in between shots, and then you have a rifle with a scope where there's a crack in the lens, and where the cracks meet in the middle is the crosshair. So that's kind of a cool thing, but it's distorted, so it's kind of hard to see out of. So it'd be interesting if there was a new rifle too that also has 5 shots, and then because then you can get a blunderbuss, and that seems like in the beta that was the item to get, because if you board someone else, having a blunderbuss when they have their sword and their pistol, you're gonna really fuck them up. So it was a lot of fun, and you have a ship's inventory, you have planks to repair holes in the hull, you have bananas to restore health, and you have cannonballs, so you have limited cannonballs as well. And so when you go on islands, there are these barrels, and you're grabbing items from the barrels, and your inventory has a max cap for each item. And so you take the item back to the ship, deposit it into the barrels, so your stock builds up, and you have it when you need it. So there's that little bit of a wrinkle in there too. It's got a lot of really, really neat systems that I think come together in some awesome ways.
It sounds like it was a successful beta in terms of giving people a general vibe for what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything, especially from other folks that have played it, I haven't heard anything that's I don't know, I still fear that you're at a certain point you're going to be doing the same things over and over again. So I'm curious to see what they're able to do to concoct new adventures to go. And maybe just exploring and running around and especially playing with friends is enough. But as we've seen with other games that do something similar, like Destiny, it really isn't. There's that hardcore audience that doesn't care. But at a certain point, you're just grinding the same quests, the same areas over and over again. So
yeah.
We'll
people
see.
data mined the beta and found a reference to a Kraken, so that that would be really cool. You go on one of the 4 or 5 person ships, and you have all these cannons, and you're trying to sail around the Kraken and fire cannons and stuff. That would be really neat. But and so I think a lot of the fun of the game was discovering how the systems work, because it does nothing to teach you how they work. So part of the fun was discovering that with my friend. And now that I feel like I know how most of the systems work, I feel like I can get better at the game and be more successful. But yeah, like you said, it's very dependent on the variety and how many ship upgrades and how many cosmetics are available, and so it'll be interesting to see. And hopefully, I think this would be a good games as a service type game where they continually add new quests or new islands and new types of content to the game. I think it would be a good one of those. I kind of meet stuff out in an early access-ish type way. I think this game would benefit from that. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I will say
I'm sure.
I will say we pre-ordered it on Amazon, and Amazon won't let us cancel our pre-orders, so I think I need to contact support and get them to cancel it for us, because on our Amazon order screen there's under each order there's a cancel items, edit order, stuff like that. There's no options for the pre-order of this digital content, so I think I need to contact support.
Why did you want to cancel it?
Because I want to buy it through the Windows Store, so I can play it on Xbox or PC. And I don't.
You just pre-ordered it so you could play the beta,
right? And maybe.
Got it.
Actually, maybe on Amazon, because it does look like one of those cards, so maybe it would be fine. I bet I just get a code from it, so maybe it would be fine just to leave it as a pre-order on Amazon, because then I would just add the code to my Xbox Live account, and then I could play it on either PC or Xbox. Yeah, maybe it'll be fine. I don't know, but yeah,
sounds like something you should figure out first.
Yeah. I will look into that. So, Sea of Thieves beta. I came away from it pretty positive.
I'm excited to once it comes out, and you can put more time into it, and whatever. If there's some kind of end game specific content, I'm excited to hear about that kind of thing.
Yeah, 'cause I think it's definitely going to live or die by the robustness of the content available.
Sure. Well, let me jump in here with a few games of mine, because I've actually been racing through as much stuff as possible.
I see that.
My Game of the Year post, I had committed on posting on February 14th, just to give myself a date. And so I now am at a point where I basically have a week left to play games, and then that weekend to write up my top 10 list and my categories and stuff. So I'm playing as much shit as possible. And really this week, all I have to play, I need to put some more time into Prey, and I need to play through Night in the Woods, which I just bought yesterday. And those are the only two things, because everything else, I feel good about. So I finished Rime this past week, and I know I talked about this a bit in the last episode, but one of the things that, hadn't fully hit me yet, because I was about halfway through, was the arc of the storytelling. And it's very kind of ephemeral storytelling. There's not really a narrative. There's no dialogue. It's just this the young boy searching through this island, trying to chase down this man in a red cape. And you figure out who the man is and your relationship and that kind of thing. And the back half of the game, once those pieces start coming together, was really fascinating and engrossing, because I didn't even realize how many collectibles were in the game, because I wasn't finding them at first. But in the back half, I started exploring more, and I started finding little collectibles, and they're just a picture or a piece of a stone that when you find the 4 pieces, it creates an image, that kind of thing. And those add a lot to the story and help tell a little bit about the backstory. So the game doesn't necessarily do a great job up front of encouraging you to explore, because there's not really a reward for finding these things when you find them. But if you do, it just gives you a better context for the world and for the story that you're experiencing. So I really liked those pieces. And really the music of the game is maybe the best music in a video game this year, or in last year, I guess. It sold. It was like a movie score, frankly.
Oh, wow.
It did what a movie score should do, in that it heightens all of those emotional beats.
Yeah.
Whether it's, tension or sadness or excitement or relief. It really, really carried those emotional moments, and they would not have worked without the music, because there's no dialogue. There's not really any traditional narrative. And so the music is really kind of what pushes you through exploring the different environments and stuff. There were just so many affecting moments. There's one, because basically it's kind of categorized into, I guess you would call it zones, where once you get to the big tower that is out in all the trailers, you're kind of making your way up the tower to get to the top, and each level of the tower takes you to a new area of the island. It sounds weird, but that's how it functions. And there's one zone that's a ruins/forest zone, where you discover these old machines it's a big metal eyeball on 2 giraffe legs. And you discover them, and there's a moment of is it evil or is it good? And you kind of make friends with one of them, and they're all dead basically. And so you are able to revive this one, and so you're trying to help it revive all the other ones. And when you do it, you're walking back to the tower to go up to the next zone, and they're all walking with you. And it's just this really powerful moment of I just saved all these, they're gonna help me, and they end up helping you in the next one get to where you need to go. It's just a really cool game, man. And it bums me out because it runs hot garbage. The frame rate is terrible, but it doesn't really, because it's not there's shooting or really accurate platforming, so it didn't really impact any of the gameplay. It's more just from a visual, it just hitches a lot, and that's just kind of annoying. As well as, it's a pretty simple game. There's nothing in it that was really challenging from puzzles or platforming. You just kind of moving from point A to B to C. Okay. And that's a bummer, just because the gameplay isn't all that engaging. But there was enough there, and it's not I was so bored that I wanted to quit. There was enough that made me want to keep going. So yeah, it was just I was honestly surprised with how much it affected me, because it had gotten pretty mediocre reviews, and people saying basically what I'm saying of the story is really amazing, it's a beautiful game, the music's great, but the gameplay sucks. And I felt basically the same way, but for me, those positives so outweighed the negatives that it's a pretty easy game for me to recommend. It's not Journey. It's not the Unfinished Swan. Like, it's not that upper echelon style of this game, but the ending, like, made the journey more than worth it. So, highly recommend Rime. Very artistic, beautiful game. On the other side of the coin, I played through episode 3 of Life is Strange Before the Storm, so I'm now done with that series. And it pisses me off. I know I've complained about this with both of the previous episodes, but at this point, I wish the game had just been shitty the whole way through. Like, then it just would have been a shitty game. But there are so many moments in the games that are great that it just makes it all the more disappointing. Yeah. I think, like, episode 2 was the highlight for me. Episode 1 made a pretty bad first impression. And then episode 2, because of the Chloe-Rachel relationship, that Tempest scene that I talked about last episode, that really, like, was more than the sum of its parts. But then episode 3 is, like, right back down, bottom of the barrel. There's a lot of influence by Rachel's parents, and those voice actors are just fucking terrible. Maybe it was the vocal direction. It might not be the actor's fault, but it's so melodramatic, and their delivery is so, like, pained and slow, and the writing is just bad, so, like, nothing about it works. And there aren't as many interesting scenes as in the second episode. I would say, like, the resolution, because you find out a lot of the nature of some of the side characters and, like, Rachel's backstory. You learn things that she doesn't know. And so kind of the big choice at the end is, do you tell her the truth and basically destroy her life, or lie to her about it and try to protect her, essentially? Which is what everyone else has been trying to do. They've been lying to her whole life to try to protect her feelings, and that has only made things worse. So, like, now you're mad about it. You're like, she deserved to know the truth this whole time. Why didn't you tell her? And so then it's put on you. All right, fucking, are you going to tell her the truth and make her even more depressed? Or will you lie to her and help protect her happiness? And I told her the truth because she's my soulmate. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life lying to her. Although it doesn't really matter because she fucking dies. Right. Which, like, ruins some of the emotional impact of this. But I told her the truth. And so at the end, it gives you the, you know, the statistics of all the choices. And 49% told the truth and 51 lied, which I just thought was really cool. So, like, that to me says that for all of the actual dialogue and character flaws that the writers did, that kind of choice, that setup, was really well handled for it to be completely split down the middle.
That's pretty crazy.
I thought that was pretty cool. There's a little stinger at the end that ties it in directly to season 1, which honestly pissed me off. It was, like, emotionally manipulative, because it's like, I'm sure that the ending is mostly the same either choice. It's basically like Chloe and Rachel those next couple of years, like, becoming closer, spending time together, and it was just really well done. It's set to the, you know, music of the game, which, again, I think the music in this game is really phenomenal. It's pretty average, like, emo punk can't say that kind of music. It's fairly generic, like Gone Home style music, but it's very effective at selling the tone of the characters. And so it's just like a montage of them together with music playing, and it was just nice. It was just a nice thing to see as a wrap up, and then you get the credits, and then there's the stinger at the end, which I'll spoil the stinger here. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual story of Before the Storm, but it's the tie into season 1, where you see a cell phone on a table and it's ringing, and it shows that Chloe is trying to call you, so it's Rachel's phone, and it's like 17 missed calls from Chloe. And so it's buzzing, and then it sort of fades in, and you hear a photographer taking pictures. And so you see that it's the serial killer from season 1, his basement. And so he's taking pictures of Rachel before he murders her. And it was like, I don't know, man. It was just
like,
kind of
why
fucked
put that
up.
in there?
It was a fucked up way to end it. It really, like, I don't know. It after this nice moment, and I played through season 1.
It kind of, like, really soils the mood.
Yes, exactly. I know what's going to happen.
Right.
I know she's going to die, and that's incredibly depressing and sad. But showing me that at the end, it was just like...
Like, that's
honestly,
the note you leave it on? Like, you could
Yeah,
have left it on this, like, beautiful connection between these two people. But
Yeah.
no, let's focus on the fact that she gets murdered and
Right.
dies, which we've, like, as players, have already experienced and have been
Yes.
thinking about in the back of our minds the whole time.
Yes.
It would have been more effective to never mention it than to
Exactly.
like leave it on that note. That stinks.
Because, like, part of what was awesome in the first season was once Max is spending more time with Chloe and they're kind of renewing their friendship, you're learning more about Chloe's relationship with Rachel and that they were, like, more than friends, but you never really understand the depth of that connection they had.
Right.
And so this does a mostly great job of establishing that. Like, it's... This prequel deserves to exist for telling that story. It doesn't always do it in a great way, but it's not like the Star Wars prequels. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this deserves to exist. It's like the Last of Us Left Behind DLC, that prequel. Like, it provides
It does
an additional
meaningful
context.
things. Yeah.
Yes, and it is very impactful in what it does. But
It
then
changes
this
the way you look at
bridge-
the normal game.
Right. Yes, absolutely. The bridge between the two, though, it just kind of ruined the experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just for already being kind of down on these 3 episodes as a whole, this thing was just like the nail in the coffin. It was just I'm just kind of like, fuck you. For them to do it's just kind of like, fuck off. Why would you do that? I don't know. It really, really made me angry. So it's tough because, like, if you played the first season and loved it, this is worth playing to learn more about Chloe and Rachel's relationship. But man, like, it's not good, and that really sucks.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. So,
I mean, do you think
It
you
is
would
what
go
it
back
is.
and play season 1?
100%. Like,
Okay.
because Kelly watched me play through season 1, and then she watched part of the first episode of this, and she was kind of like, I'm sorry, Shea, I'm not interested. This is terrible, which I can't blame her for that. And so she didn't, like, watch any of this, but I've, like, given her updates because I like talking about video games. And so I'm like, I walk into the bedroom as she's watching a show and I'm like totally interrupting what she's doing. Like, oh, this crazy thing happened. And so, like, I told her about the Tempest stuff, which she thought was cool because as an actor, etc.
Yeah.
And so I basically told her all of the ending things and actual detail of this. And as I was talking about it, I was like, shit, dude, I really want to play through the first season again just to experience it with this additional context for Chloe.
Right.
Because she is so fucking annoying as a character. But, like, I get
this
it.
might
You
make
know what
her
I mean?
less so. Like, more,
Yeah.
she's the same amount of annoying, but you understand why she is that way
Yeah.
more, and, like, are
But-
more empathetic.
Honestly, playing through the first season might make me dislike this even more, though, because of how many fucking crazy twists happened in that first season.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that comes anywhere close to it in this. Like, there are a couple reveals, and it's just like, I don't know, nothing was surprising in this to me.
Okay.
So it's tough. But like I said, if you played and loved the first season and if you have like 10 hours to spare because you are sparing those 10 hours, you're not going to really love playing this. But if you're willing, I think it's worthwhile to play through. But I certainly can't recommend it to people unless they loved the first season of Life is Strange. So
Okay.
We'll see what happens with season 2. I'm still like, I don't know where Don't Nod can take the story in season 2, but
Right. Like, at this point, does it even follow Max and Chloe?
I know. I don't know. I have no idea what it will be. Hopefully it still has the time manipulation mechanics, because not having it in this one caused a lot of really shitty gameplay things. So yeah, I guess just to hit a couple other ones, and then we can jump back to some stuff for you. So I've been still grinding away at Assassin's Creed Origins. I think I'm at like 35 hours now. And again, like, it's just a solid game, and it keeps me wanting to come back to it. A couple things just to mention that I didn't talk about last time. One of the things that I enjoy way less in this is the climbing, because it's so streamlined. Like, there's just nothing to it. You just hold up. And he just kind of climbs on anything. He's fucking Spider-Man. And at least there was some element of interactivity in the old Assassin's Creed games. Well, to be fair, I haven't played any since Black Flag, so maybe this has been a recent trend anyway. but like you're not doing anything. You jump up on a wall and you hold up and he climbs.
Yeah.
You're not like jumping from ledge to ledge, having to move sideways sometimes to make forward progress. And it's very uninteresting. Like climbing up the towers to do the synchronization is boring. Like there's no fun in that.
It's just slow.
Yes. It's like it's an obstacle to unlock things, but you're not really doing anything active. The combat, though, is way, way, way better.
Yeah.
The bow is nice from like a sneaking perspective, but the actual sword fighting is really, really improved. I still don't think it's amazing, but like being able to dodge and like that, it makes it more engaging.
It's better than it's ever been.
100%. But that's kind of like saying the shooting in Fallout 4 was better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it is better, but it's still not great. So yeah, the camera to me is one of the worst parts, and like the lock on, it just I rarely, when I'm fighting multiple enemies, I rarely feel like I'm fighting the guy I want to be fighting, and that's just poor camera work and poor, like the lock on, you hit R3 and then you can change the dude you're locked on by just moving the R3 stick. And just inherently, I'm trying to move the camera to face the guy I want to face because the camera isn't doing that for me. Yeah. But instead, I end up changing the guy I'm locking on. So then I get a bad camera angle of that guy. And it becomes a bit of a jumbled mess when you're fighting 3 or 4 guys at a time.
Right.
But I guess that encourages you to be more stealthy. Maybe that was on purpose.
Sure.
And then finally, I got they've done a ton of like cross marketing with Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
And did you do the Final Fantasy quest in this in Assassin's Creed?
I don't think
Origins?
I was a high enough level.
Okay, so it was a really weird quest. It's like an asteroid lands, and you have to solve a puzzle that unlocks an area where you get treasure. And as part of that, I got a Final Fantasy inspired sword and a shield, and then a chocobo mount, like a 4-legged chocobo mount.
Yeah.
And the sword and the shield are fucking awesome. I keep upgrading them because I want to keep using them. Okay. The chocobo mount is really slow, so he already is terrible. But also, it's a fucking 4-legged chocobo. It's a giant bird that I'm riding around, and no one seems to give a shit. Like, it's like no one realizes that this is like a mystical creature. No one reacts, and obviously it's free DLC. They just added it in there, but it's really immersion breaking, which like you might roll your eyes at saying that it's a video game, but it's just weird to ride around on this giant bird creature and have no one care that I'm riding around on a giant bird creature.
Would you say it isn't immersive?
Yeah, it is not immersive. Little MXR reference, but kind of on that same track, all of the shit, and I talked about this before, where you find these like shrines in the pyramids that like are the modern day stuff, and it's like technological. I don't even know how to properly explain it because it's completely fucking useless and forgettable. All of that stuff continues to be a huge annoyance. And part of what makes it dumb is like you interact with these big totems, and then you listen to some dude ramble for like literally 7 minutes about bullshit mythology, and then you just leave, and Bayek goes about his day. He has no reaction to anything that you hear. There's nothing, like there was one that's underwater, and so I was floating underwater because your air doesn't go away. You're like in this bubble underwater, and he just leaves, and like, oh, guess I'll go kill some more bandits. I was just floating underwater for 10 minutes watching some kind of mechanical virtual reality thing and listening to a woman speak into my mind, but it's all good. I have no feelings on this. And that it's just really stupid. Like, it's just so dumb. Thankfully, I haven't had to do any more of the modern day stuff. I think you can leave the Animus at any time.
I think that's how they did it.
And I certainly haven't done that because who gives a shit? Right, so I'm glad at least they're not forcing me to go back into that. I'm sure they will at some point. Yeah. So then why the fuck is it in there? It's so stupid.
Yeah.
So stupid. So I have a lot more games still, but let's jump back to you. So tell me about some other stuff you've been playing.
All right. I got Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 on the Switch. So I've been playing through the first one. The first one originally came out on the 3DS.
Okay.
And so in comparison to playing it on the 3DS with that extra joystick attachment, which I got specifically for that game, this controls much better than that. Than the stupid.
And real quick, what is this? What is Resident Evil Revelations?
So it's like bite-sized Resident Evil. Like the first Resident Evil Revelations is very much classic Resident Evil, and it's more horror focused. It's like a lot of finding keys to unlock areas and solving kind of environmental puzzles. And you're locked on this tanker, and there's this bioweapon stuff. It's that version of Resident Evil.
Sure.
It's the bioweapon, Resident Evil 5 bioweapon stuff. But wrapped up in kind of like a more horror-focused shell. Now, it kind of jumps back and forth between that and the more action-focused segments with Chris and his... Because you play as Jill, Valentine, and Barry? I think it's Barry. I think it's Jill and Barry on the tanker, and then Chris and some other random hot Russian chick who's like... like, not doing a good job at flirting with Chris. Because she's like, you talk about your partner all the time. And, like, stuff like that. Or, like, well, what would she do in this situation? And it's, shut the fuck up. Just, like, help me out with these stupid zombie dogs.
Right.
And so, like, you're running around as Chris, and you have, like, a bunch of ammo with him and, like, shotgun and stuff like that. So, like, that's fun. You're just shooting the shit out of stuff. And then you go back to the Jill thing, and it's more puzzle-oriented and, like, learning the area and, like, looking at the map and more survival, like, trying to stock up on items, upgrading stuff. So there's that, and then there's also the Mercenaries mode, which is, like, the time
attack. It's like the multiplayer?
Yeah, there might be co-op or something, I think. But there's, like, it's like, hey, kill the certain number of enemies and you get score. You get a score based on how you do. Now, there's amiibo support for this now since it's on Switch. And I tapped all my Animal Crossing amiibos, and they all gave me points, which you can use to, like, purchase upgrades for Mercenaries. So I have all of the Animal Crossing amiibos and a couple, like, the Wind Waker ones. So I tapped all of them on there, and I had a lot of points. So, like, I bought, like, everything I could right away. So I haven't played any of that Mercenary stuff yet. But Resident Evil Revelations 2, I'm trying to think. I might be like a third of the way through the first one now. I'm trying to remember how long that game is. And they chunk it up in good increments. Like, it's like 45 minutes to an hour, and then you do another chapter and then another chapter, and, like, it saves automatically at those chapters and, like, gives you a ranking, and you get BP based on the ranking. So that's the first one. The second one was, I want to say that was, like, actually episodic. There were, like, 5 episodes, kind of like a Telltale game.
Right.
And they're each like an hour and a half to 2 hours long.
And it's not a sequel to the first one. It's a completely different thing, right?
There are a couple... There's a character from... I think Barry might be in it. It's been a while. But it's telling a totally separate story. Like, there's a different an island that you're on, and there's, like, a different villain and all this other stuff. Revelations 2 is, like, the hard episode. Like, they released it in episodes, whereas Revelations 1 was released as a full package. It's just chunked up into chapters. Because it was on a handheld originally, and so, like, that's a good way to play it, is in those shorter increments. And now in this, like, when it's on Switch, I'm also kind of playing it as a handheld, so the increments work well for that too. So also, like, they up-resed it a bit, and maybe even redid some of the models, so obviously it looks way better than the 3DS version. So it's nice to, like, go back through these environments and, like, actually be able to see shit. So yeah, I've been having fun with that. I also got Arctica Point 1, which was by the developers of the Metro games. It's a VR cover-based shooter with some light horror elements. Like, that's
was this a new release?
No. I'm trying to think when it came out. I don't know. It's not new.
Okay.
But I saw it on Giant Bomb did a Via Rodeo, and Jeff played it for a little bit, and it seemed kind of goofy in like a weird VR way, like too self-serious, but not able to achieve those high notes. And it's kind of uninspired and pretty buggy. Like I have some weird frame rate stuttering in a lot of areas, and after about an hour and a half of playing it, the game straight up just broke for me at the beginning of a mission. Yeah, it looks pretty good. That's kind of all I can really say about it, is it looks nice, and they clearly kept, like, the enemies move and react to getting hit just like they do in the Metro games. It's like they clearly kept whatever portion of their engine handles that stuff.
Right.
And I think that stuff's really
well
good.
done.
Yeah, I think that stuff is really good. So, like, they're reacting to being shot and stuff in VR like a more AAA... I would say shooting these dudes in VR, they react better than any other VR game out there.
Right. Is it a similar aesthetic? Like, is it post-apocalypse? Like, kind of, is it like a spooky thing?
Yeah, it's like the world is covered in ice or something.
Okay.
And
so they just replaced radiation with ice, basically.
Yeah, and like more future. Like it happened like further in the future. There's a bunch of future tech.
I mean, like that concept sounds cool. Like, hey, the Metro guys making another shooter that's a futuristic, ice. Like, that sounds good. It just the fact that it's VR makes me not interested, and the fact that it's like a cover-based VR where I'm assuming you're like teleporting from cover to cover kind of thing, like you do in most of those shooters. That is just that's pretty uninspired.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're doing. And that's where it broke for me. Actually, was there was a segment where there's a turret that pops out of the ground, and you can warp around. You can shoot the shield to like temporarily disable it, and then you're supposed to go around to these points and power down the generators that are powering it. I just destroyed the thing, and then I tried to ride the elevator, and the elevator didn't work. So I went back to a generator to power it down, and then I couldn't teleport anywhere from there. It was just broken, and apparently that's an issue that other people have had.
You're not allowed to leave until you repair it. Come on,
right?
It's gameplay mechanic.
So it was just super broken, and there's nothing I could do about it.
Yeah,
which was frustrating. Yeah, and like it has that it does the Metro thing where they pick out random things to be realistic about. Like with Metro, like having to charge your headlamp and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like in this, when you upgrade your weapons, you go down to the upgrade table. You're selecting physically from this menu, and then the thing opens up, and you have to put the gun in, and then you watch it 3D print the thing onto the gun, and then you grab the gun, and like, yeah, it's just like weird. I don't know if it's just, hey, we're in VR, so we need to make you do stuff, or if it's the weird Metro, we're gonna make you do these kind of very specific things. I don't know.
Is that tedious, or does it work? Like,
that process was very tedious because it takes a while. It looks cool the first couple times you do it, but then it's like, all right, I get it. Because I mean, it takes like 25 seconds to 3D print this thing.
Yeah, because the idea of there being a gameplay mechanic around upgrading your weapons, that's cool. Like, so many games, you upgrade your weapon in almost every game there is. Yeah. And like thinking about like Dead Space 3, how you could like add the parts together to make a unique weapon. If there was some sort of like actual interactivity in creating it, that sounds like a cool idea, but doesn't sound like they really did that. They just made it annoying.
You're still just selecting it from a menu. And
you're not doing anything.
It takes time is all it does.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I would say the guns feel okay. There's a revolver that, in order to reload it, you just like twist your wrist to the side and like pop the chamber out and pop it back in, and it reloads. So like that's cool. Like you're shooting, and just like click click, and then the other one is like put it down by your belt, kind of like the Time Crisis point off screen. Just point it down at your belt and then bring it back up. So it's like I was memorizing these two different, because I was double wielding, of course, because it's VR and it's cool to do that. It's cool. It's a cool guy thing to do. And so I was doing like hammering away at the triggers and like doing these different hand motions with the different hands. Like I felt like I got really fast and was pretty good at that. And then like you when you holster them, you put it over your shoulder, and you can like switch holsters by reaching over. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So there's some cool things there, but it also, they don't have any two-handed weapons. They're all like pistol sized, so there aren't like any bigger weapons. Because you can purchase, because you get like credits every time you do a mission, you can purchase new weapons, but they're all like pistol sized. So like, I feel like I'm never gonna have that like huge, powerful, like shotgun type weapon. Like they all seem to be like there's like blaster type things, like shoot plasma or something. That's probably don't shoot as fast and are more powerful. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird. Like I kind of miss having like a shotgun or an assault rifle. You know,
Right.
There aren't really, from what I could tell of the weapon descriptions, those aren't really in there. So yeah, I don't know how much longer I'm going to play it, but
speaking of futuristic, spooky shooter games with 3D printing, I've been playing Prey.
Nice.
How's that for a segue?
Oh, hot off the press.
So you've been pushing this game on me for a while, and I get it. BioShock's my favorite game of all time.
Yep.
This is like a spiritual successor to BioShock, but in space. I don't know how I feel about it right now. So like there are positives and negatives.
Yeah, there are.
And I'm going to talk through them right now.
Okay.
Because this is what the podcast is about. So I really dig the vibe of it. It has that similar to BioShock where like you're just kind of now in this place. You have no idea what the fuck is happening. You're learning about it as you go, discovering key cards and audio diaries, and you're not really meeting anybody. I know you do later on, but I haven't
You're coming
yet.
into this space after something really shitty happened.
Yes, right. And figuring it out as you go. There's obviously that like horror vibe without it being a straight up horror game, which I like. It does spook me out a lot as I'm playing it, but it's very effective at that. I'm like maybe 10 hours in, so I'm really not that far because I also this type of game I play very slowly and methodically.
Same.
So, you know, I looked on how long to beat, and it was like, for a completionist, it's like 45 hours. And I'm like, well, that means it's going to take me 60 because I'm just like, that's the way I go about these type of games. So I'm starting to learn more now because I'm at the point where I'm like beyond the beginning and I'm given a little more freedom. Like I've been out in space now, and I can go do that kind of thing. So the world is opening up a bit. I'm still kind of overwhelmed by all the systems. Like there are just a lot of things going on in this game with the resource management and the crafting and unlocking different gates, and there's just a lot going on in this game. Even from a gameplay perspective, like the different guns and using your special power to like slow time and the neural mod upgrades, there's just a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And it was taking me a long time to figure out how it all worked together. I'm getting better at that, but it's still just like a little overwhelming and intimidating. Like when I think about, I'm going to go play some Prey today, I'm a little bit like, there's just so much that I still need to do. That kind of feeling.
Sure.
And I would also say it doesn't do a great job directing you in the beginning. Like you're given your main objective basically, and it shows you where it is on the map. But it like dumps you into this big atrium area where there are like 4 different levels, 20 different rooms. You can't access all of them, but like there was one where I found a little side quest that said, hey, basically unlock this other door, and you can unlock this other door by getting my key card from my dead body, and my dead body is in the hospital wing. And I was like, okay, the hospital wing's open, I'm gonna go get that. I go into the hospital wing, and this was the first instance, because like first the main enemy that you're fighting are like little, I don't even know how to describe them. They're like little octopus creatures, and they're really fast and annoying, and that's another complaint that I have that I'll say in a minute. But those are like the main dudes you're fighting. And then eventually you come across that are more humanoid, like they're taller than you, they still can move and teleport, but they're more like a person-size thing
and
that
they're
you're
terrifying.
Fighting. Yes, they are terrifying. And so I came into the hospital wing area, and it was the first time I had seen No, it was the first time I had fought one of the big ones. There's a moment earlier where you see a big one, but he leaves. He runs away. So I go and I'm like, all right, I can take this fucker down. I was able to, bought the repair skill, so I repaired a turret. And I was like, all right, I'm going to plant this fucking turret. I'm going to let him fight the turret. I'm going to flank around him, and I'm going to fucking kill this guy.
I did
I'm
the
being
same
so
thing.
smart. It's like fighting a Big Daddy from
Yeah.
Bioshock. I was like, I got this shit on lock. So I set up the turret. I get his attention, and I shoot him once with my silenced pistol just to like get his attention, and I'm firing him a couple times, and like it basically does no damage. And then he throws a firebomb at me, and it blows me up and kills me in one hit and destroys the turret. And I was like, oh, okay.
I did the same thing.
Guess I'm not supposed to fight that guy yet, because later on I found another big shadow guy, and he was just normal. And then I compared him to this shadow guy, and this shadow guy was like wreathed in flame.
Right.
He looked like the fucking Balrog from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so this guy's a much harder version.
Yeah.
But I was like, fuck you, I'm killing you, I want this other key card. So I did it again, and I set the turret and let him fight the turret, but then I went and hid. And I had some other kind of grenade, I don't remember what it was, but it was like, it takes away their ability to use their like special moves, so he couldn't throw fire at me, basically. I'm really dumbing this down because I also don't understand what the fuck is happening in this game. So I threw that grenade at him, so instead he like tried to like extend his like arm out Slenderman style to like punch me. Yeah. And so I just shotgunned him in the face like 80 times, and I was able to kill him.
Yeah.
So I felt like a badass. So I'm exploring around the hospital area, and I can't find the key card. And I discovered that it's also behind another door that has a key code on it that I don't know the code to yet. I'm like, well, fuck. So I did this for fucking nothing.
But can you hack it? Because some like levels are low enough.
It's
you
like
can
hacking. It's like hacking 2, and I only had hacking 1, so I can't unlock it yet. I will be able to, and it's possible I'll eventually find his key code, whatever. But the main thing is like, it gave me this side quest that I assume that I can accomplish now, because it's not like it level caps the side quests. And I tried to, and quickly discovered that I was not capable of beating this guy yet. I was able to beat him, which I thought I was supposed to do, and then I get to a point where I can't even progress anyway. And so that's just like kind of a example of the game doesn't really guide you very well, which in some cases is fine. It lets you explore the way you want to explore, but it doesn't do a good job of letting you know, hey, maybe don't go here right now. So that's been a little bit frustrating. And there are just so many zones that are locked that I know there's going to be a lot of backtracking. And like, I need to be have a fucking notebook where I'm like, oh, here's this area with this character. There are so many areas and characters that are dead that you're only ever hearing through audio logs, and they reference each other and you read their emails. I have no idea what is happening in this game. I have no idea what is happening from the story.
Well, so from the security stations, you can find people,
yes,
like where their bodies are, and you can track them that way, like one at a time, and go find their bodies.
Yes, but I have not gotten anything out of that. Because I'll find them and I'll like get a key card to this area that I don't remember where that area is. Or they'll have an audio log where they're talking about another character that I don't remember. So it's just like, I'm not getting anything out of the story right now.
Okay.
So, yeah. Other complaint about the enemies. There's good stuff. Don't worry. There's some good stuff about this game too. It's not just me bitching. But the enemies move so fast, and like they just scuttle, like the little octopus guys, they scuttle everywhere. And that's by design, because they like run around a corner and then they pretend to be a can of soup, and then when you walk up to the can of soup, then they attack you, and it's spooky and scary, and it makes me pee my pants.
Right.
But the aiming isn't good. Like, it's not as precise as I want it to be. There's not a really good aim down sights. The R3 is the button to aim down sights, but it's not really a good zoom. And also, when I panic, my hands tense, and so I accidentally click R3, and then I'm zoomed, and I can't move as fast, and then the shadow guy kills me, and then I get angry. So the combat is like, can be frustrating, but when things go the way you want to, just like in Bioshock, where like if you see there's an enemy and you're able to successfully set up some kind of trap for him and take him down, that all feels really good. It makes you feel like a genius for figuring this stuff out. The exploration is also really good. I like looking in every nook and cranny to get the materials, to find the dead body, to get the audio log.
And this
all
place
that's
is
really cool.
full of stuff to find.
Yes, and it's huge. Once I found out that you can go out into space, I was like, oh shit, this game's even bigger than I thought. So all that's really good. Again, it's going to take me 100 hours to finish this game because of all the intentional backtracking I do. Like, so you find materials, if it's a wrench, a banana peel, or literal, like, human remains, and you can convert all of those materials into core materials, which then you can use to create new things. So like you can create ammo, or you can create a new wrench or a gun or whatever. You find these frameworks that allow you to, blueprints basically, that allow you to make them. So because I'm a completionist, if I come across an area where my inventory is full, you better fucking believe I'm going to take 20 minutes to backtrack, dump all my materials off, and then go back to that area and then backtrack again. There was one moment where I went back and forth like 6 times to make sure I cleared out all of the materials.
Yeah.
And it's just going to take me forever to beat this game.
I did the same thing, and I think I clocked in at about 30 hours.
Oh, all right.
I mean, I missed a couple of the side quest things, but
Yeah.
I think it was like 30 to 32 hours was my thing.
Maybe I'm farther along than I thought. I was just... Well, I don't want to go into story spoilers, because the story setup is cool. Like, you basically have amnesia, and your past self created a robot with your past self's current memories to help modern self get the thing done that you need to do. So your self is talking to robot self via past self to help modern self. And then you also discovered that there's another robot self that has a different objective than past self. So do you trust robot self 1 or robot self 2? And that's why I'm confused about the story.
I just looked at my Steam library. I only played Prey for 24 hours.
And you beat it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, at the end, there were a couple of large areas I didn't fully scour. Like, there's this big tunnel system thing. I forget what they call it, but it's this big, long tunnel with all these, like, pop-outs to go to different areas and stuff. Mm-hmm. I didn't explore that area a whole lot. And then there was one side quest that I got that I didn't finish. Because, like, the last time I chose to play the game, I was like, I need to beat the game. And so at the end of the game, because I did what you're doing. I had so much stuff. I didn't feel the need to stop and get everything anymore. And I had all the Neuromod stuff I wanted. So at the end, I just like powered through.
Streamlined through, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you'll wind up doing the same thing. Like you'll, at a certain point, you'll let that go like I did. I don't know.
Part of the problem is I still feel really underpowered. Like if it's a regular Shadow dude, I'm able to take him on fine. But like, I get my ass kicked when I do. Like, I have to use 2 medkits every time I fight anything because the aiming is just so bad. Like, it's hard for me to follow these guys with my literal gun. So I just, like, I'm not dying when I'm fighting them. But I'm just taking a lot of damage. And so I'm crafting a lot of medkits, basically.
Okay.
So, I don't know. It's because, like, on the whole, like, I'm enjoying it because it gives me that spooky vibe that I hate but also like. And there are a lot of elements about the world that I'm enjoying that I want to explore more. But, like, the story is over my head right now. And there are a lot of those little nitpicky, mechanical kind of gameplay design decisions that I'm not a huge fan of. So,
sure. Prey's a game I wish there was a good DLC expansion for.
Because you want an excuse to go back to it, or?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, it's not like I'm going to stop playing it. I'm certainly going to keep playing it. But at this point, when I think about my Game of the Year list, this one hasn't earned its way onto a spot yet. Kind of that's where I am right now. Okay. So what else? What else you got? Any more? Are there other video games?
Yes. So I picked up Staxel, which is a new early access game. It's this week's edition of Kyle buys something that doesn't work.
Great. I'm looking forward to this being an ongoing segment of you wasting money.
So I couldn't get it to launch, and I tried a bunch of potential fixes that were on the forums, and none of them worked. So I refunded it, and they gave me my money back. And I bought it with a coupon. So normally it's $20. I bought it for $15 because of the coupon. They gave me my $15 back. And then like a day later, I was like, man, I just feel like there's got to be some way to get it to work. So I looked up in the Steam forums and I saw another fix on the discussion board that was like, I didn't try it. I was like, freaking kidding me. But then I looked and I was like, oh, I would have to pay the full 20 instead of the 15 because I already used the coupon. So no, I'm not gonna. And then like a week passed, or maybe like 5 days, and they updated the game several times. They're like, here's an update for folks who weren't able to start the game. Like, this should fix it. I was like, oh, God, I'm going to pay $20 now to do this. So I paid the $20. And I bought it, and it worked. It launched. It worked. It did okay, but it cost me an extra, like, $5 than it should have if I had just been patient.
But is it good?
Yes. So it's a voxel version. For those of you who don't know, voxel, everything is made of tiny cubes. Think Minecraft, but extremely small cubes.
Right.
And it's kind of a combination of different games. It's like Minecraft. It's like Cube World. It's like Harvest Moon.
Which is like Minecraft.
No, Cube World is a voxel based.
Cube World has more.
Cube
World has more going on.
Yeah, and it's not a building game. It's like a Diablo loot third-person action RPG.
True. That's true.
So like Minecraft, Cube World, Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, like those kinds of games that evokes all those. I don't know that it does any of those better than their counterparts, but it bundles it all together.
Yeah, sure.
There's not combat in it. That's the only thing I would say it might be missing, because I think, but maybe that does it a service in that it's just like a wholesome, good feel kind of game. I think there's a lot of promise. I wish. So the loop is like, you have a farm, and you're interacting with all these villagers that are around the town, and they're giving you quests. There's like a mayor who's explaining things to you, and like different villagers run different shops, so they have different areas of expertise. So they request you to craft certain stuff. It does the Animal Crossing thing of, oh, I dropped my sock on the ground. Could you find my sock? You find the sock, you bring it back to them, they give you a thing. It does that kind of stuff. There are, like, there's one villager who really likes fishing, so she asks you to craft a fishing spot. So she gives you a sign, and you put the sign down, and it gives you like an area that you're supposed to build within, and you have to meet the specifications for a fishing spot before it will function as one. And then you fulfill the quest, and she's happy, and she gives you a fishing rod. So I have like a little pond at my farm, so I built it there. So that's like a really convenient place for me to just go fish on my farm. They wanted me to build a barn, so I put down the sign for the barn, and it gave me the area I can craft the barn within. And like, I'm buying blocks with the crops I'm planting, and the insects I'm catching, and the shells I'm picking up and selling, and like little treasure chests that I find out in the wild that give me extra currency. So it has that very Animal Crossing loop of I'm gathering and catching and selling for money, but then it has the Stardew Valley thing of I'm pumping that money, and Harvest Moon, I'm pumping that money into more crops to make more money. But then it has the Minecraft thing of you can build, and there's all these different cosmetic blocks, and so that's something you can actually funnel your money into instead of just making it this cyclical, I don't have anything to spend money on because I have all the crops I want kind of thing. There's like 12 different workstations like that are very specific things. Like there's a boiling station for cooking, and like an assembly station for building. There's an assembly station and a combining station. Figure that one out.
Yeah.
And like everything's animated really well too. Like it all looks really good in the little voxel cubes. It's animated well. The writing could use a little bit of work, but again, it's pretty early in the early access phase.
There's like dialogue and stuff?
Yeah, because like you go up to an NPC, a villager, and you right click, and they talk to you, and like they're like, "Hey, could you build me this or do this or blah?"
Is it voice acted?
No,
or is it text?
It's just text.
Okay.
I really wish there was some sort of like a quest tracking system. They have achievement tracking, but not a quest tracking. So it's like I'm having trouble remembering who needs the blue phone that they dropped, or
sure. Is that just a symptom of it being early access?
I think so.
Like, is that on there?
Yeah,
plan?
I think it's clearly.
I
not
would have to
feature complete.
imagine so.
Yeah. There's a lot of little things about the game I wish were tweaked. Like, for example, the seeds, when they're in your inventory for crops, they tell you when they should be planted and how long they take to grow. But when you harvest it and you have a plant, it doesn't give you that. It just says, this is a cucumber.
Okay.
So there's a machine you could put the cucumber into to get more seeds, but I wish there was some way to track, like, or even if it's just in the cucumber's item description, like, this plant is a spring plant and it takes this many days to grow. Like, just like in the seeds. Because when I harvest the seeds, I don't know if I have enough time left in the season to turn it into seeds and replant, or if I should just sell it. It's like little quality of life stuff. But yeah, the building is pretty okay. I have a couple cows right now, and I buy cow feed and I put it in their trough. I pick up their poop after they eat. I milk them. I have 2 apiaries. I'm growing bees, single-handedly keeping bees from extinction. And they make honey every 3 days. Yeah, like a lot of cool systems, but just a lot of systems going on. And not a lot of quality of life things.
It sounds like a combination of all those games, like, because it has elements of everything. It sounds like there's a lot going on.
And they straight up just stole some sound effects from Animal Crossing. Like, when you try to click on a block or an item with the wrong tool, it does the woo 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 thing, like the Animal Crossing you can't do this sound. It just does that sound. And the music's pretty good. I would say it's kind of evocative of Stardew Valley's soundtrack. I think it's pretty similar.
Right. Yeah, pretty cutesy and
just kind of more upbeat.
Right.
Yeah, I think this thing could go some interesting places.
It certainly sounds like there's stuff there. Like, if they fix some of those small issues, it certainly sounds like there's something there that could be cool.
And there's already like a ton of stuff to do in the early access version. Like, there's a lot to do. Like, they're also giving you these mailboxes for villagers that could move into your town. So you put the mailbox down, and then it says, hey, you need this many blocks of this type and this type. So you actually build their house, and then they come move into that house that you built them, which is kind of neat. And there's like a what is it? Patisserie.
I don't know what that is.
Like a cake shop, patisserie.
How the hell would I know what it is?
I don't know how you pronounce it, but they want me to build one of those.
A bakery.
Yeah, but it's called like the PATTA.
I know, it's something specific for
I don't remember how you spell it or say it. So it wants me
Do
to
they
build one of
make
those.
cakes for gays? That's the important question.
What?
There's a big news story a while ago about some cake maker who was getting sued because they refused to make a wedding cake for a gay couple. It was a topical joke. It didn't work. Let's move on. Gay cakes.
Gay cake. That's the episode name.
There you go.
I also bought Final Fantasy 12 on PC because it was $10 off, and I was gonna buy it for PS4, but I was like, no, you know what? This is a game I would want to play like while listening to a podcast or while watching videos and stuff.
Yeah,
because this new version of it has the mode where you can speed up combat and all that.
You're fucking right, it does.
And like I could listen to my own music and stuff on my PC while playing. I can do all that kind of stuff. So I went ahead and bought it on PC, and then the $10 I saved by not buying it full price I spent on an e-guide on Amazon. So I have their Kindle app on my computer, and I have the Zodiac Age guide with the new.
I still have
job
the
system.
original PS2 version guide.
I thought about just getting one of those, but it doesn't have the new job class system explanation in it. All the Zodiac Age additions and tweaks.
Yeah.
So
I found all that stuff to be pretty straightforward. My only and as a completionist, my only frustration was making sure every class was represented. You know what I mean? And it becomes tough because they limit the classes that can heal. like I had to align my teams in the right way to make sure I always had a healer, and that was kind of tedious. Like if I would have just made 2 people the same white mage, I would have been fine, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted everyone to have a unique class.
Sure.
But that game's fucking good, man.
Yeah.
That ability to go up to 2x or 4x is so awesome. In a game that has so much grinding,
right,
like Final Fantasy 12, that is an amazing quality of life improvement.
Yeah, and I don't know that I've played it since it came out. I don't know that I've gone back, at least not like seriously. Maybe like played the first opening hour a couple times, but I don't think I've
That's one of those
gone
games,
back to it.
For as much as I didn't really like the story in Final Fantasy 12, something about it hooked me enough. Like I played it like every other year. Because I still have my old Steelbook PS2 version, and on my PS3, because I had an original PS3, it was backwards compatible, and so I'd play through it like every other year, every 3 years.
Well, I got you that Steelbook, bro. When I was working at GameStop, someone traded in the Steelbook version, and at that point, we were taking in PS2 games without cases. So I talked to my manager. I was like, "Hey, can I just give my brother the Steelbook for this, and then we'll just sell a generic case?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't care."
Nice.
He probably knew we were about to phase out.
Final Fantasy 12, man. Most underrated Final Fantasy game, in my opinion.
I think so, too. A lot of people have problems with 8, but I think 8 kind of deserves those problems.
Right. Yeah, I'm not... Yes. Yes. I think that with a few exceptions, every Final Fantasy game has something to offer. I think like Final Fantasy 13-2 is pretty bad. Final Fantasy 15, I think, is really bad. But basically all the others, I think, are decent games. Yeah. And Final Fantasy 12, I think, is better than most of the Final Fantasies.
Right. That's pretty much all I've been
playing. Or maybe
just
it gets a lot of undue hate. So
okay. Yeah.
But that's cool.
It's more Animal Crossing on my phone. I'm level 50.
Right. Speaking of phone games, so I downloaded and started South Park Phone Destroyer, which is like... It's like a mobile companion game to Fractured But Whole. And actually, in Fractured But Whole, Wendy's superhero character, she like hacks phones, and she has a special move, and whenever she does it, where she like hacks someone's phone and it explodes and does damage. And when she does that, it goes, "South Park Phone Destroyer!" or something like that. And it's obviously referencing their mobile game.
Right.
It's fine. Like, it's... I don't even know what genre of game it is, but like... It's kind of a collectible card game in a sense, where like you start a level and it's a side scroller and you play cards to have your guys fight the enemy guys, and you have recharge time on your cards.
So it's like Kingdom Hearts, the Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories card based.
Never played
game.
it.
Okay.
If it isn't Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2, I have no fucking clue what it is.
Okay.
But sure. It's totally fine. I put maybe 45 minutes into it. It's okay. It was quite annoying because, peek behind the curtain here, maybe TMI inbound. I started it when I was taking a dump one day.
All right.
And I wasn't able to play it because like I had it installed. I started the game. It needed to install more shit after I had already installed it.
Yeah, a lot of games do that.
It made me log into Game Center, like the iPhone game thing that is pointless. It made me log into that. I didn't remember my password, so I had to reset my password and get myself an email so I could make a new Game Center password. And then I logged in, and then it downloaded more shit in the app. At that point, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to uninstall it. But 2 weekends ago, Kelly and I, we went with her family. We always go up to Blue Ridge Mountains in North Georgia every year and like rent a cabin for a couple of days. And I was like, we just like hang out and relax basically. And so I was like there, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll boot this game up again. So I played a little bit of it there. And like, it's totally fine, but I won't play any more of it. It's not like gonna hook me.
Sure.
And I don't want to have to deal with all the download bullshit, and my phone already has such limited space on it. It's so annoying. Phone games are terrible. I'm sorry. Phone games are just terrible. That is not a good way to play video games. But while we were there, I also brought my Switch. So I got some Nintendo updates. So I played some more. We actually played a lot of Mario Kart because it's multiplayer. And we played some of the battle mode, which I hadn't touched yet in Mario Kart 8. And it was actually pretty fun. I think it's, the fact that it's co-op multiplayer makes it more fun. But traditionally, battle modes, ever since like the N64 version, battle modes have been pretty terrible in Mario Kart. Like, they just feel like tacked on things. In this, like, a couple of the modes are actually really fun. So there's one where it's like basically keep away with a shine star. And so, like, person picks up a star, and then you have to hit them with something. They drop it, and you can go pick it up, and it's team-based. And that was really fun. Like, it was pretty intense, like, chasing each other around and stuff like that. There's also a traditional battle mode with the balloons where you hit someone, they lose a balloon. It's about points. But the only items are bob-ombs, which was pretty crazy because you're like, every question mark block gives you a bob-omb, and so like you can store up to like 10 at a time.
Geez.
So then you're just chucking them at each other to like pop the balloons, etc. So a lot of the battle mode stuff's pretty crazy. I would say I think there are 8 maps. The quality really varies pretty greatly. There are some updated ones from old games, just like they do the regular tracks. And there's I think it's the SNES battle mode where it's just a big square with like the 4 color zones.
Right.
And that one's definitely the best probably map, just because of the structure. There's like a Splatoon one that's very Splatoon inspired, that kind of things. And there's an F-Zero one, I think. So I don't know. It was like more fun than I thought. There was some annoyance with the camera because it does a vertical split when you're playing 2 players, which makes it just really hard to see what's happening. So there were a lot of instances of like I get hit from the side where there was no chance I would have had to avoid stuff.
Sure.
But as like a fun co-op thing, it's pretty fun. So
cool.
Also loaded up some Zelda, which I discovered I hadn't played in like over a month because I'd kind of moved on to other things, but I wanted to show my brother-in-law some Zelda, and I beat the first Divine Beast, the elephant with the Zora, I think it is, and it was a lot more fun than I thought, because like you have to go up and climb this mountain to get the electric arrows, which was really annoying because there's whatever like lion centaur creature that kills me in one hit, and it was a pain in the ass, so I just had to sneak around.
Right.
And then I went down, and I was like, okay, I'll fight this elephant thing, and that's when I stopped playing the game. And so I wanted to load it up, and I played through that, and it was like an actual boss battle where like you're riding on the back of the Zora, you have to shoot these ice bombs that are coming at you, and then he kind of launches you up, and then you shoot the electric arrow at these squares to like ignite it, and once you hit them all, you convert the Divine Beast back into like being a good guy, and then it basically acts as a dungeon. And because I hadn't played in like a month and a half, I forgot a lot of the mechanics and buttons and the different options that I had. So I got into this dungeon, the Divine Beast dungeon, and I have no fucking clue what I'm supposed to do. And just now talking about it, I remembered that you can create the ice pillars.
Right.
And there's a section where there's like this screw that I tried to shoot with an arrow. I tried to jump to it, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And I know that I'm supposed to interact with it, but I couldn't figure out how. And now I'm remembering that it's over a pool of water. So I bet you I can cast an ice column and climb up it and interact with it that way. So I'm going to go play some Zelda this week so I can do that. But once I reached that wall, I was like, all right, I'm going to kind of just go explore. And so I went back out in the world and went in like the zone up from the Zora. Because before I had been exploring the zone below the Zora, which is where I was getting my ass kicked. So I went to the zone above it, and now it's normal dudes again. So I'm able to like actually fight the goblins, and they don't all kill me in one hit. So that's been fun to dive back in and just enjoy that open world exploration and with less frustration.
Yeah.
I will say that I came across a group of moblins, sorry. And I killed them, got the chest, and then a lightning storm happened. And lightning kills you in one hit, and unless you can find something to hide under, there's literally nothing you can do to avoid it. And so I died and got a game over screen. And then I quit the game because fuck you, Breath of the Wild. Why the fuck are there so many terrible things in that game that actively make you not want to play it? It pisses me off.
Do you want to know how you avoid lightning?
How?
You have to unequip all of your metal stuff.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
It's like, were you wearing armor?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to unequip your armor, you have to take off your weapons.
And take off your weapons.
That's fucking stupid.
I agree.
That's like, ugh. They create, it's like they think they're being clever. They create these mechanics in their game that are shitty and then give you some weird way to get around it. But the core of it, like, that's not fun.
No, it's not.
It just period. That isn't fun.
It's something you have
Nintendo,
to do.
you're not fucking clever. It is tedious and stupid. Like, I'm glad, thank you for telling me that. That makes it less terrible. But that's still, like, what about that is fun? I want to talk to someone at Nintendo and have them explain to me, what about that is fun? What about climbing a giant mountain and then it starts raining and you slide down the mountain? What about that is fun? Because then you just put the controller down, wait for it to stop raining, and then climb.
Yeah.
It is actively making me not play the game. It is so terrible and annoying. Because if it didn't have that shit, this would legit be one of the greatest games ever made. And plenty of people still say that it is. I think they're fucking crazy because of all this terrible shit.
Right.
I don't, like, objectively, I don't know how you can defend these kind of things. I have not heard an argument for how you can defend those type of things.
Right.
And it's so annoying because the game is amazing in so many ways. But those little things, they all add up, man. They really do.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I also played some Super Mario Odyssey, which continues to be a very good video game. I have done more of the post-credits moons and like going back to worlds and that kind of thing. I'll say maybe my impetus for doing those is less now because I've gotten so many moons. I'm at like 400 moons now.
Okay.
And you get them in so many different ways. And it was interesting listening to them talk about this on the Game of the Year deliberations on the Giant Bombcast, because I definitely agree with what they were saying about the fact that some moons are so easy to get takes away the impact of getting them. Because like now I go back to these worlds and Peach is just like hanging around, just like she's not even like hidden. She's just standing there. And if you talk to her, she gives you a moon. Alternatively, you could go into a hidden sewer area with a really intense 2D platforming section and get a moon that way. And so like, if you can get a moon from fucking talking to Peach or banging your head against the wall 20 times to beat this really hard platforming section, why do you want to do the really hard platforming section? Right. You know what I mean? Like it's that dichotomy of the moons makes the hard ones not as impactful. Like I don't feel as good getting them because I know that had I not spent that time, I could have gotten 30 moons by doing a bunch of easy shit. By fucking petting a dog, I could have gotten a moon. So it's, I don't know. That kind of ruins those really hard levels at the end because I'm feeling less passionate about trying them. But from a purely like I'm gonna check in with this game for an hour every week perspective, I'm glad that it has a lot of post game stuff because the core game is just so fucking amazing that it's kind of like DLC almost.
Yeah.
Like it's an excuse to go back and keep playing it. So from that perspective, I'm appreciative. It is cool to see as well like how the worlds change and how like the creatures are kind of like all together and you unlock the big stone thing that unlocks all the extra moons. And I don't know, that part of it, that like giving you a reason to explore the worlds all over again is nice, but part of me would rather just like have new areas versus going back, because I like combed through everything my first time through and now I'm combing through everything again. It just inherently won't be as fun the second time around.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is what it is. It's still a pretty amazing game. And I have far fewer complaints about Super Mario Odyssey than something like Zelda, that's for sure. So that's everything I've been playing an hour and a half later. Anything else for you?
No games. But things I've been watching. So
yeah, you've been watching any more anime? Give me your anime minute.
I did watch Grand Blue Fantasy, the first series of it, 13 episodes. Because that's the one they're making the game for. They released that trailer for the game that I looked kind of interesting, so I watched the anime.
Right.
Some of the writing was not great, and a lot of the characters just seemed like plot devices to like a machine to move the plot forward and create cool battles. But there was a lot of like really cool design, like character design and like set piece moments and action sequences. That stuff was pretty good. So it should probably make for a totally fine game.
Sure.
I think, yeah, it kind of feels like they were making something that they wanted to cross media with.
Interesting.
The fiance and I finished season 2 of Travelers. The writing got way, way worse. Like halfway through this.
Oh no!
Halfway through the season.
I thought you were gonna say way, way better, and you didn't.
No, like halfway through the season, like even the way they were shooting some of the scenes changed. So I don't know if they like changed directors or got someone else working on it or like what it was. Or like they filmed the first half in like a week, and then it was a few months later, and they filmed the second half. But
they forgot what they did.
It got really bad. Like the second half, it was like a hard shift, like a hard turn.
Well, at least you watching it now, I don't have to.
Yeah, and also like
you talking about it has successfully turned me off.
Yeah, the conclusion to season 2 kind of sucked too. We watched the first episode of the show Frontier with Jason Momoa.
Right. I also watched the first episode, not recently, but like a year ago when it came out. I also watched the first episode, and that's the only episode of it I watched.
Yep, that's what we're gonna do. Did you make it all the way through?
That show was fucking terrible. I think I did, just because I wanted to watch the whole one.
The Priest.
That show's really bad.
The Priest is all right. The Priest is okay.
Yes.
He's like he's a funny character, and he does a good job. The actor does a nice job portraying him. Everyone else is the worst. Even Jason Momoa looks like he's just trying not to smile the whole time. He's got like Jimmy Fallon syndrome or something.
It's just like a B-movie version of every other set piece or like time period piece kind of a show.
Yeah.
Like it's just so derivative of everything. I don't know. There was nothing about it that I was like, yeah, I'll keep watching this.
Right.
Nothing.
It's super unoriginal. And in stark contrast, we watched the first 3 episodes of Norsemen, which is a comedy, and it's like it's making fun of those period piece shows.
Interesting. What is this on?
It's on Netflix. I don't know what it originally aired on.
Okay.
It did not. It's not an original, I don't think. It's probably like a BBC or something British, or maybe some weird Swedish thing because everyone is like Norse. So it subverts your expectations in like a lot of really funny ways.
That's fun.
It's like the opening scene is them rowing on this boat, and there's this guy tied to the middle post. So it's like, okay, he's a slave. And one of the Vikings walks up, and he's like this big burly dude. He's like, okay, guys, a few things to talk about before we get home. And like he's like going on like, so when we get home, make sure you do this and this. And then the guy tied to the post is like, excuse me, it has been over 12 hours since I've been served water. This is ridiculous. Over 12 hours. And the guy's like, well, after the notes, we'll get you some water. And then like the guy,
I'm gonna have to check this out. This sounds good.
And like it's so funny. And like the main chieftain guy like walks over and punches the slave in the nose, and the slave's like, oh, did you see that? Will you be my witness? Like turning to the other slave, and the chick's just like deadpan staring at him. And then and the chieftain walks back and turns to the other guy, and he's like, I just don't really feel like that was me. I'm not really the walk up to someone, punch him in the face kind of guy, you know? Yeah. I just feel like that wasn't really me. And there's this whole thing of these old, like, because the old people would jump off a cliff and sacrifice themselves so their families didn't have to take care of them in times of like famine. And the slave brings all these old guys up there, and the one guy jumps off and dies, and the other guys look down, and they're like, yeah, I don't feel like we really want to do this. And the guy's like, well, I'm just a slave, so like I can't make you do it, but I mean, could you just like, if you're not going to jump, like, as your honor demands, could you just like go somewhere else so they think you're dead and I don't get in trouble? And like, yeah, we can all do that. That's okay. And like they walk away. Like everyone's like really pleasant about everything.
Yeah.
In like a really weird, funny way.
It sounds very Monty Python.
It is. It's very, very Monty Python, like very European humor.
Yeah.
It's very much that, but maybe not as overt as Monty Python is, like in your face about it, but this is absolutely one of those. And like, because like scrolling through Netflix, you see it, it's like, oh, it's another one of these period things, but then you look,
I honestly don't even remember it, and I'm sure I've seen the cover of it and thought exactly that. I'm sure I thought that it was another knockoff Viking show,
and then I read the description for it one day and I was like, oh, it's a comedy. Oh, weird. Like that was one of the tags, and then it's pretty good. So I highly recommend it. We're 3 episodes. We finished episode 3. I don't know how many episodes there are, but it's good. I highly recommend it. So what have you been watching?
I'm still trying to watch as many movies as I can before my making my like best movies thing. So I actually watched Lion, which was up for awards last Academy Awards because it came out in like January, I believe. But I don't give a shit about the Academy's timeline. If it came out in 2017, it's a 2017 movie. That movie is fucking phenomenal. Like it is. I have a review up on the site now. It's one of the best movies I've seen in quite a long time. And going back, like, that would have been my best picture for last year. I didn't see it. Like, I never saw La La Land. Like, there were a couple big movies I didn't see. But, like, I saw Manchester by the Sea, which I thought was completely amazing. I saw Hell or High Water, which I thought was completely amazing. Lion, to me, is better than either of those, which is saying a lot. Especially because Dev Patel, who's the lead dude in it, at least for the back half, he was in Slumdog Millionaire. He played the fire guy in Avatar. I haven't ever liked him in anything. Like, it's nothing against him personally. I haven't ever liked him in anything, and I thought he did a great job in this. Nicole Kidman is also in it, and I'm not a fan of hers, and I thought she did a phenomenal job in it. So, like, it really overcame my expectations. I remember when I first saw that it was up for Best Picture, and I was like, Dev Patel, Nicole Kidman, hard pass on this movie. And I'm glad that I went for it, because it was really, really good. It's kind of like... In the review, I likened it to Full Metal Jacket, which is a weird comparison, but in Full Metal Jacket, it's kind of like 2 movies. So, like, you have the first half where they're in the training camp, and then you have the second half where they actually go to Vietnam, I think it is. And, like, they're actually in the war. And it's, like, 2 completely different movies just with the same characters. This is kind of the same. It's the first half is... The basic story is... An Indian boy gets lost from his family. He ends up like thousands of miles away, and he's trying to find them. That's the story of the first half. And then the second half is the boy is now an adult, and he's still trying to find his family. But like he had gotten adopted, and it's all based on a true story. And not in a true story the way Gold was that I talked about last episode. It's based on a true story where like most of this shit actually really did happen, which makes it even more insane. And so I won't, even though it's a true story, I won't spoil the end of like, does he find them or not? But I will admit unashamedly that I was openly weeping at the end. Sobbing. Like, actually sobbing uncontrollably at the end of this movie. It was that intense. It's fucking great. I don't even know how else to say it. I will say the first half, I think, is more... Enjoyable is kind of a weird word because it's a little boy who's lost for like the whole time. I wouldn't say like it's enjoyable, but it's really well shot, and the music does a great job of heightening that experience of him. Like he kind of goes from scene to scene of like trying to get help from people and like trying to get food, and it's just kind of like vignettes basically of his young adulthood. And then the second half is more traditional, where like that could be a movie on its own of this, you know, young man who was adopted trying to find his mom in India, that kind of thing. And it's weird because much like Full Metal Jacket, where it feels like 2 movies, the second piece wouldn't work without the first. Okay. And so from that perspective, it's really, really successful. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all that it was nominated for Best Picture. It's going to be very high on my favorite movies list. I'll say that much. Another movie that will be on my list for sure is Get Out. So this is the Jordan Peele horror, I use that in quotes, movie recently. that it's actually nominated for Best Picture this year, which I was kind of surprised before I had seen it, because it's just a horror movie. What do you think? But I'm not a horror movie fan. I will say that I would not qualify this as being a horror movie. It's more of a thriller.
Sure.
Like, there's like one jump scare, which I appreciate because modern horror movies rely too heavily on jump scares. There's one, but it kind of subverts your jump scare expectations anyway. It's more like a commentary on that style of movie than it is actually using it to scare you, if that makes sense. To me, it feels like a bad 80s horror movie just done really well. So, like, it's kind of cheesy. The story's kind of dumb. Like, the actual twist is incredibly dumb, but fun. Like, it has that, it's a fun, stupid, scary movie vibe, but it's really well written, really well acted. Just everything about it's really well done. The way the twist is handled, after that it becomes a bit, cliched isn't the right word, but it kind of like leans too heavily into the like over the top nature that I was kind of like rolling my eyes a bit at. The more fascinating thing for me is it's like political commentary, or I guess more like societal commentary. And this is all said with the knowledge that I'm a white guy, but the story is about this young black guy he's dating a white girl, and he goes to meet her family. And before meeting him, they don't know that he's black. And so it's like, throughout the story, it's like they're like liberal people. They voted for Obama. They make a couple jokes of like, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could. But they're still kind of racist. Because like inherently that difference in culture, and they're trying too hard to like be cool and prove to him that they're not racist,
right,
that they come across as being racist. And that's just really, really fascinating and kind of opens my eyes to, it's just that thing like, I will never understand that. I will never understand what it's like to be a minority as much as I might try. I will never get it. And that's like a tough thing to acknowledge, and makes me think of an old South Park episode that's actually the message of that with Token,
right,
where like Stan is trying to like say like I don't remember what the actual story is, but Stan keeps trying to tell Token like, I get it, like I get why you're mad about racism, I get why this matters to you. And Token's like keeps getting pissed at him and more mad at Stan than he is like at Cartman, who is the one actively being racist.
Right.
And at the end, Stan's like, I get it, I don't get it. Like, that's what I get. I get that I don't get it. And it was that moment for me too of like, I don't get it. And I never will. And that's a really important thing to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Also, because like the main character, he has his black best friend who kind of comes in and out. He's like the comedic relief type character. And it's really interesting to look at the main actor, who does a phenomenal job. He's nominated for Best Actor. For anybody that's seen Black Mirror, he was in the 15 Million Merits episode, which is one of my personal favorite episodes of Black Mirror. He's with his white girlfriend, and you think that like that's him. Like he's comfortable with her. They've been together a while. Like he's cool. He's fine being with her, despite the fact that they have different cultural backgrounds, different skin color, etc. He meets her family, and like he becomes a little more formal. Like he tries to like white himself up a little bit kind of thing. And then he talks to his black friend where he like, I don't know the best way of saying it, but like he's a little more of that city culture that you would associate with black guys. Like I don't know the best way of saying it, which is part of the problem. Like he's like cooler, like using black guy vernacular, like that kind of thing, where it opens that door of like, oh, even when he's with his girlfriend, he's still not really being himself. Or is he? And is he pretending to be more quote unquote black when he's with his black friend? Like, who is the real guy?
Right.
And that's like really, really fascinating as well, and handled very apolitically. Like Jordan Peele clearly has a statement to make about race in this movie, but he does it so deftly that it like, I would find it hard for a white person or black person to be offended by anything in the movie. It's just really, really well done.
Okay.
And it's interesting, like, I got the most out of that side in a movie that is, like, a horror film. Like,
Sure.
its socio-political commentary is the most interesting part, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So really, really highly recommend Get Out. Even for people that don't like spooky movies, it didn't really scare me at any moment. It was more just tension-filled. Oh, boy. Still more. So Kelly and I watched Win It All, which is a Netflix movie starring Jake Johnson, who plays Nick on New Girl. I love Jake Johnson. Like, he's one of those guys where, like, I look at him and I'm like, all of his characters I could play. Like, it's one of those kind of guys. So I like seeing his stuff. I liked him in it, and I actually Jolo Trulio's in it, who, if you don't know Jolo Trulio, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's one of those, like, recurring dudes in comedy movies. You'd recognize him if you saw him. I haven't been a huge fan of his. I just haven't really found him to be funny.
Okay.
I loved him in this. He plays Jake Johnson's older brother, and he just does a really good job. He's just like a good dude, and I really liked him as that character. So I really liked all the characters. I really liked the vibe the movie was going for, but it just isn't really successful. It's a pretty cliched story. Like, he gets in over his head with gambling debt, and like there's a bad dude that he's using the bad dude's money to fuel his gambling habit, and then he keeps getting deeper and deeper because he's trying to pay back the money. And meanwhile, he meets a girl who he's lying to about his gambling, and like he's trying to go on the path of the straight and narrow, like working for his brother, being a good person, and he keeps getting sucked back into this kind of seedy side. It's like there's nothing original about that, but Jake Johnson's charming. He kind of carries it through, but because it's just pretty rote movie, it's not all that interesting. And then the end is like really abrupt. There's not a true resolution to what happens. Like, you know what happens with the situation, but it's like, I don't know. It's hard to explain without spoiling it, but I just found it to not be all that interesting, and so it just kind of disappointed me in that perspective.
Okay.
We also watched American Made, recent Tom Cruise movie, which is also based on a... Oops, I'm bumping my table. Also based on a true story of a American pilot who worked for Pablo Escobar, like flying drugs and guns and shit. And he was also working for the CIA. And this was interesting because I watched Narcos and love Narcos. And it's cool to see this similar story from a different perspective as what was in Narcos. But the movie's actually pretty bad. There's no stakes. It rushes through plot. It's more like, it's not a documentary, obviously, because it's a fictionalized version of real life. But the movie is just like, this is what happened. And that's kind of all it has to say. Like, there's not even really like a story or a narrative. It's just like events. Like, things just take place. There are so many montages in the movie, like passage of time. It's just, I don't know. It's actually a bad movie, I would say.
Okay.
The only reason we finished it is because it was Tom Cruise, and he's so easy to watch.
Yeah.
Like, I thought Tom Cruise did a nice job in this, but everything else about it is incredibly forgettable.
Okay.
And a lot of inconsistent cinematography and like some weird stylistic shots they use that they don't carry through, so they like really stand out like a sore thumb. It's just I don't know, just kind of a bad movie. It was a shame.
Bummer.
Finally, and then we can finally move on to some news. So I always try to have a show that I'm watching that's just like a time waster show. And it's usually like one of my favorite sitcoms. Like, I'll rewatch Seinfeld or I'll rewatch Scrubs. And it's just like, if I come home from work and I want to kill an hour, or if Kelly and I are eating dinner or whatever and we want to kill some time. But I've rewatched all my favorite shows in the past year because I've done like rankings for all of them for my website. And so I was like, what am I going to watch? And I've been wanting to rewatch this for a while just because. So I started watching Lost again.
Nice.
And I don't know why I'm rewatching Lost again, because the first season of Lost was amazing, and then basically most of seasons 2 through 9 are awful. So now I'm in this weird spot of like, do I just watch season 1, or am I going back through this thing and watching the whole thing again? And I don't want to watch the whole thing again because it's so bad.
There are good moments throughout, though.
You're right. But it's so stupid. Most of it is so stupid. And that's Damon Lindelof. You know, I can go back to, you know, as I was ranting about The Leftovers for a while. That's his similar show that he created. He has these bright ideas in the beginning, but he clearly has not put any thought into how it's going to wrap up or where it's going to go. And so they just make shit up as they go along, and it doesn't work. Lost was like that. The Leftovers was like that. So you're right. There's a lot of cool shit throughout. But like watching season 1 makes me hate the later seasons even more. 1, because the mystery's so awesome in the beginning.
Yeah.
And 2, the setup of these things is so cool, and knowing how it resolves is so underwhelming. Like with the smoke monster and shit like that, where I'm just like already rolling my eyes. There are also so many characters that I hate on the show that are so bad. So many bad characters. And like knowing where the love triangle between Jack, Kate, and Sawyer goes, how bad that is. Like, I don't know, man. It's tough because the first season is really good. It is really good. But I'm not really looking forward to continuing, but I'm sure I will. So expect several months of Lost bitching in the next episode. So it is what it is. But
I just want to do a quick self-correction. I stated it was one or two episodes ago when I bought all those comics. I got Outcast, the new one of the newer Kirkman series, the Walking Dead guy. I read the entire book 1 yesterday. It is not post-apocalypse like I thought it was. It is, he has like powers to exorcise demons out of people's bodies that are possessing people. That's what it is.
Weird. Well, so was it that the way it was set up in the beginning made you think it was post-apocalypse?
There are a couple panels in the beginning that make it seem like there's an illness or a sickness when taken out of context. But it's actually like a demonic possession thing. So
you hadn't. I'm trying to remember when we were talking. So you hadn't read this last time?
No, I just bought it.
Okay.
And like the Amazon look inside the first few things.
Gotcha.
I looked at the first few panels. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of what this is.
So is it?
But it's not that.
Is that more interesting now?
Yes, because it was kind of an interesting surprise. Like it's very. Right. It's not like Monster of the Week like Supernatural is. Like there's. It's very much just following his story and learning how, like, what his powers are, how they work, and, like, trying to separate the fiction of how religion paints these things versus the reality of how they are. And that stuff is really interesting. And there's a pretty decent cast of characters they've already built up. It's written very much like a television show in some cool way. Like, you spend a little bit of time with this character, and then this character gets a little bit of separate time to develop her own stuff, and it feels very television show-esque.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a welcome surprise because it's not what I thought it was, but it's actually kind of cooler than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's better.
It's even more different from The Walking Dead than I thought it was going to be, so that's a good thing.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Have you been reading anything else?
Yeah, I read Orchid Volume 2, continues to be totally average. Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir trade, that was not very good.
Is that just like a miniseries, or is it? Yeah,
it was its own standalone like 5 or 6 issue thing, and I have the collected version of it. I read Low Volume 4. I might have to go back and skim those first 3 because I did not know what was going on with 4 the whole time I was reading it.
Did I give those back to you?
Yes. They're on my shelf now. And I finally finished the 1,200-page book 3 of Stormlight Archives.
Nice.
Man, those books are so good. I cannot. I can't wait. I can't wait until the 4th book comes out. But I'm gonna have to because it'll be like several years until it comes out.
Oh no, really?
Well,
right, because the 3rd one just came out. Yeah, that's too bad.
Oh man,
I hate that.
It's so good too. I have plenty of
hopefully Brandon Sanderson doesn't die.
Right.
Like everyone thinks George R. R. Martin's going to die before he can finish.
Well, Brandon Sanderson's also like 30.
Right.
Young 30s. He's not as old as Martin is. But I have plenty of other crap to read. I have still a huge stack of stuff to go through, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, once I feel good about once I finish up all my 2017 games, because there's not a ton on the horizon, like A Way Out's coming out, and then God of War in April. Excuse me. I want to try to dive into some books and finish up my Harry Potter book finally, and then start on the Prince of Thorns trilogy, and then I got to read that Star Wars Aftermath trilogy. So I need to get back into books. I need to get back in.
Please, we need to talk about them.
I know. So all right, so let's move on to news. Now that we're 2 hours in, I told you guys this is gonna be a doozy because there's a lot of news to talk about too. But hopefully it's cool stuff. So I guess you found this first story, so tell me about the Creation Club updates.
Yeah, new Fallout 4 Creation Club stuff. This is actually this little content update they released. People have been responding to positively for the most part, which is a difference in tone from previous content club or Creation Club stuff. There's an arcade workshop pack. There's like new posters that are associated with each of the little game tapes that you can get and play in the game. There are new posters. There's some new lights, new like gobo projections, which for those of you who don't know what a gobo is, it's a pattern that you put over a light bulb, and it casts that pattern to create a picture. Gobo is what my lighting designer calls it, so that's what I call it. So like projections of like some of the different perk things, like the perk icons, and so you can like bend them and twist the shapes, and they kind of like reflect dynamically off of different surfaces and stuff. It's like that's kind of a cool, like, you know how in arcades they'll have like the stars projecting down on the floor and stuff like that.
Right,
it's that kind of stuff, but like kind of pictures of the perks. There's an arcade machine for every single one of those tape games, and every single arcade machine has 3 different color variants. So it's like a huge thing, and they're actually functional, so you can go up to them and play the games on the arcade cabinets. And like they make noises and stuff too, like an arcade does. The only thing is that settlers won't actually play them, but if you put one of the new stools in front of it, the settler will go sit at the stool.
They'll sit there,
and it'll like kind of look like they're playing it, I guess. So yeah, it also adds happiness to your settlement. So there's like a nice functional thing in there if you care about how the settlement ratings are. So yeah, kind of and there's some new carpets and stuff too, I think. So yeah, that's $3. So like that's actually not awful. That's a reasonable, like $3 for all that stuff.
If you care about the settlement building,
yeah, and like being able to play all those arcade games, like that's like that's a cool thing. There's another one called Tunnel Snakes Rule. This one's $5, which I think is a bit much for it. But there's like a radio broadcast, and if you track it down, you find a new subway station, and there's like tunnel snake markings over the whole thing, and there's a bunch of dead tunnel snakes, like wearing the jackets, so you can get the tunnel snake's jacket.
Okay.
And there's some minor story stuff as to like what the tunnel snakes are doing there that you discover. And there's the original 10mm pistol from Fallout 3, like the classic one. So you could find that, and then there's like a legendary variant of it with its own skin, and it has its own set of mods and stuff for it too, specific to the gun.
$5 seems a little steep for that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even really a quest. It's just like a new area to find new clothes and weapons. I don't know. That seems pretty steep.
I guess there's a bit. I don't know how they give you that information, but there's a thing about how the tunnel snakes got there from, like Washington.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And then there's a third thing called Coffee and Donuts Workshop Pack. This is $6. This is made by the Modular Backpack guy and the Modern Furniture guy. He did both of those, which are like the two ones that people like. So he created this new one, Coffee and Donuts Workshop, because there's a Slocum Joe's coffee shop in Universe. And if you go there, you find this franchise pack. And like it's a magazine on how to make your own like Slocum Joe's franchise, and so you learn all these like crafting things. Then there's a ton of new building items. Like there's new tiles, like there's a pink and white tile. There's a few different like color variants, like new walls, new ceilings. There's countertops and like donut displays. You can craft all the different types of donuts. There's like donut boxes, booths, tables, like ad signs, like a new Slocum Joe's neon light up sign, like all this new stuff that goes along with it. So it's a really, really big pack of craftable things, and like you can have your settlers working there and stuff, so you can make it in a settlement. So that's $6. So I would say the Arcade Workshop pack, the $3, that's pretty reasonable. I think 5 and 6 are maybe like $1 or $2 too much for that stuff. But
yeah, it's like thinking of like the full game as being $60. $6 for like a new type of settlement thing.
Right.
That's so much money.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So take it for what you will. Obviously, there's a bunch of new skins on the Creation Club as well, and those are constantly handing them out for random ones out for free and stuff. So make sure you keep checking back on that.
Kind of in Sony news, so Kaz Hirai, who used to be head of PlayStation and has been for the past like 6 years, I think, has been CEO of Sony. He's just stepped down to become like he's on the board now. He's a chairman on the board, and their CFO is going to be the interim CEO. So there's not like a ton to talk about here. It's more just kind of like Kaz Hirai, the reason he became Sony's CEO is because he did a phenomenal job turning PlayStation around after like the issues with the PS3 launch.
Yeah.
He did an awesome job and helped directing the creation of PS4 when they were in the development phase. So it totally made sense for him to kind of like do that for the whole company because Sony as a whole struggles a lot. Like their TVs don't sell. A lot of their movies have not been doing well. So him kind of leading the ship has been a good thing. There's not like actionable stuff about this, but it's a bummer that he's leaving because he has done such a good job.
Yeah.
So
I hope it's not like health
we'll
concerns or anything.
Yeah,
like
I know,
that.
because he's not an old guy, and like he's only the CEO for like 6 years. It's not like, and he's not leaving the company or anything.
Right.
It's just, it seems weird, and they made it sound like it was a very unexpected decision that he made. So hopefully, there's nothing bad going on.
Right.
So have you seen stuff about this Xbox Game Pass?
No, I have not.
Okay. So it seems like this is actually a pretty big deal. So Microsoft announced that the Xbox Game Pass, which is their like Netflix kind of service for Xbox games, will include their big exclusives as well right away when they're released. So like if you pay for Xbox Game Pass, you can play Sea of Thieves when it comes out without buying the game.
Okay.
And like they're going to do it for Crackdown and the next Gears and Halo games. Like all of their games like those will be available right away, which is pretty nuts. So their subscription right now, they have access to over 100 games, and it's $60 for 6 months. So it's like it's $10 a month, which is like it's fairly steep, or I should say that's fairly expensive. But for having 100 games, that's a pretty decent deal.
Yeah.
And
if
they're going to include
if there
all
are
of their
two
big
games that you want to play, you're saving money.
Exactly. Yes. So like when Sea of Thieves, like this year, Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2. Like, if you want to play both those games, you can play them for $120. Plus, you get all the other games that they have. So, like, it's a pretty decent deal.
Yeah.
It just seems like an odd move to me for Xbox because, like, I don't understand what the benefit of this is. That's going to lead to fewer game sales, right? And, like, giving people a cheaper way to play their games, which they've already been doing. Like, being able to buy on the Windows Store means you can play on Xbox, and having all their big exclusives also be on PC and not exclusive to the console. It just seems like they're making some weird financial decisions.
Maybe it's just,
I don't know.
It's just a way to keep people in-house. Because, I mean, if you have a subscription service, you're less likely to pick up games on other platforms or pick up another platform if you're already signed up for the subscription service. Maybe that may be true. That's the thought process. I don't know.
Could be. But regardless, this is great for gamers.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really cool thing for people that have Xbox and are considering the Xbox game service. Also, so this, I don't know, kind of annoyed to even talk about it because it's not news, but everybody's been talking about this. So for people that have heard of it, I wanted to clarify. There's been a rumor going around about Microsoft wanting to purchase EA, Valve, and the developers of PUBG. So, first of all, everyone is always trying to purchase everyone. That's the way business works. So everyone's always in talks of like trying to pick up someone else. There's also no fact to this. It's like one report that came out where he was like, yeah, a friend of a friend of a friend said that a Microsoft and an EA exec had lunch together and they talked about Mass Effect. So maybe Microsoft wants to buy EA. Like, that's basically the like validity of the rumors. It's just that it was one small piece of one random story that got blown into this big, like, Microsoft's gonna buy everybody, which they have the money to spend to purchase, and they certainly don't have the first party exclusives to make people want to buy an Xbox. So it would 100% make sense for them to try to acquire IP through an acquisition versus like building a brand new studio. So it definitely makes sense. But like, if you break this down, Microsoft buying EA, not only would that cost them billions of dollars, I don't see a world where that could happen, because it's not like EA only publishes like Mass Effect and Dragon Age and BioWare games.
They publish such
like,
a wide net.
Yes, they publish FIFA and Madden, which are their cash cows.
Right.
Like, yes, Star Wars Battlefront 2, that makes a lot of money and sells a lot of copies, but fucking nowhere near something like FIFA.
Right.
If they, and like, more people have PS4s than Xbox Ones. If Microsoft bought them and what had the exclusive rights to FIFA, how much money would that cost? Because then FIFA would sell less than half as many copies. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me that EA would ever agree to something like that, unless it was an inordinate amount of money, and which I don't see happening either. So
yeah,
it's also tough because something like this, despite my and most people's feelings on EA, this would be bad for gamers, for them to acquire such a huge publisher with so many games that would now become exclusives for Microsoft. That just that's the kind of move that only punishes people. It doesn't really benefit anyone, because it's not like they're going to change the way they go about making games. It's just that you'll only be able to play their games on an Xbox. And I like business moves like that don't help anyone, that don't help consumers. I tend to find abhorrent, because they're business decisions made to make more money, which, don't get me wrong, I get it, but that punishes consumers, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them sweeping up a few smaller independent development studios.
Absolutely.
And then like they release a smaller indie game, and then they take those people from that development studio and combine them with other development studios to make a larger AAA title. Or they just pump more people into that development studio. It's kind of like how Sony does it. They bring people in-house, and then they supply them with extra staff and funding to create bigger, more larger in scope projects. I could see Microsoft adopting that format. I don't see them acquiring something huge.
Right. And like, I could see them acquiring the developers of PUBG, just because it fits that. It's a smaller studio where like they could fund them for more things. But what, other than if he got a shit ton of money, why would they want to sell to Microsoft?
Right.
Like, their game is already on Xbox. Like, what benefit do they have other than making a lot of cash up front? Like, it would be hard for me to see them selling to Microsoft in that circumstance either.
Right.
Because they just don't need to. So, I don't know. It's an annoying rumor that got blown up into something way larger than it should have been. So I figured we should at least talk about it here.
Yeah.
EA also had their earnings call, and they gave a lot of updates on kind of all their big properties. So running through those real quick. Battlefront 2, it has sold 9 million copies, which is a lot, but they were expecting higher. So it's basically been a disappointment, which maybe is vindictive of me, but that makes me happy. They expected about 10 million sales at this point, and they've sold around 9. So it's not like it's crazy underperforming. But Battlefront 4, up until the end of their fiscal year, which is in March, the original Battlefront had sold 14 million copies. And they're estimating Battlefront 2 to sell 10 to 11, which is pretty far underperforming, because you would expect a sequel to sell more than the original, not several million less. So that is a pretty big deal. They came out and said that they have updates coming to the game, partially because of the lower sales. They are bringing microtransactions back, which they always said they were going to bring them back. So they're trying to figure out how that's going to work now. They're going to, basically, like they said, they're going to update people more in March was kind of the general thing. But they're going to change up the way progression works to make it a little more user-friendly. They are adding some new modes. There's a jetpack mode where it's like 8 on 8, and everybody has a jetpack, which seems pretty fun. That'll be like a limited time thing in February to experiment with that kind of gameplay mode.
Right.
But the bigger thing is like in this update, we'll get more details in March. So like, I don't know. It's kind of like telling people what's happening without telling them what's going to happen, which makes me a little suspicious that they're going to try to sneak in some dark shit in there, like those microtransactions.
Right.
So we'll be paying more attention in March. They have no release date for Battlefront 3 because obviously. Battlefield, they did say that there is a Battlefield game that's going to come out this fiscal year. Not sure if it's going to be holiday or early in 2019, but they're also saying that it probably will have some sort of battle royale mode, that like PUBG, Fortnite type mode. Their developers are currently trying to figure out how that works in Battlefield. Can't blame them for wanting to put something like this in there because it's been super successful. Also can't say that I'm interested in that whatsoever, but that's just me. Anthem has been delayed, quotation marks, to 2019, although the developers say that this isn't a delay, even though they originally said it was coming out in 2018. Now it's coming out in 2019, so they delayed the date, but it isn't a delay. It's so stupid. The way they try to manipulate shit, it's like aggressive. So they're saying it's only pushed back for scheduling reasons. It has nothing to do with the state of the game or them needing more time. It's just they didn't want to release Battlefield and Anthem at the same time, because thankfully they learned from releasing Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 at the same time. Or like Titanfall 2 I think came out the week before Battlefield 1. Yeah. And so it sold way less than it would have, because fucking idiots over there. So they're trying to learn from that mistake, is what they say. There was a big article from Kotaku about the delay for Anthem, and this came out before it was officially delayed, saying that they knew it was going to be delayed, which adds a little validity to the story. Anybody that's interested in game development and in Anthem and BioWare, I definitely recommend checking out Kotaku's story. It was a really interesting read. It was by Jason Schreier, who's like the biggest games journalist I would say there is out there right now. Sorry, I'm coughing. So kind of from a high level, Anthem development began in 2012 when Casey Hudson was still part of BioWare. He left, they stopped working on Anthem, and then picked it back up in 2014 before he joined the studio again. So now he's back running the studio and taking over development for Anthem. Basically, the report is saying that the developers are having a tough time with expectations for this game for a lot of different reasons. Because of the critical and commercial failure of Mass Effect Andromeda, the way that microtransactions have worked in Battlefront 2, EA is still forcing them to have microtransactions, so they're trying to figure out how they're going to implement them without pissing people off. Just the general feeling gamers have towards EA, they're worried will impact sales of like just people boycotting EA games, that kind of thing. So it's like the interviews, which are all off the record, seem like the team is still optimistic about the quality of the game, but is very nervous about like the timeline for release and what's going to happen critically for the game because of all this stuff. This makes me worried because Mass Effect Andromeda was clearly rushed to make a fiscal year release date. Anthem is going to make the fiscal year release date through hell or high water. So I can totally envision another circumstance where this game is rushed out and is half-baked, which would really, really be sad, because Anthem shows a lot of promise and kind of fulfilling on what Destiny tried to do and has still failed to do. Anthem could do that, so I don't know, man. The more I learn about Anthem, the more nervous I get, especially hearing all this behind-the-scenes buzz of the developers being nervous about their timeline, too. So they have said that basically everybody's working on this game now. They were in pre-development for the next Dragon Age, which I guess is still continuing, but they're pretty much all hands on deck with Anthem. They're considering shutting down support for Old Republic just to have everybody on Anthem. Right. So a lot of those moves are just a little scary for me, like thinking about them actually fulfilling on that vision. And EA coming in and setting down their foot on timelines and budget and microtransactions. The more that publishers get involved in development has been proven to be bad for game development. So EA does not have a great track record with this. So I'm nervous.
Me too.
Yeah. So let's talk about some Nintendo moves. So Kyle, do you want to take some of these? I need to drink some water.
Yeah, I can. So the Nintendo Switch Online service is coming in September. It's going to be $20 a year, and it will include like free games that are available for the month, sort of supposedly like PlayStation Plus and Games with Gold.
But you can still only access them like that month. You don't like get them forever throughout the service.
Is that what
They're
they
kinda
said?
Replacing.
Because I
Yes.
feel like they didn't specify which one it was going to be.
They did
Okay.
specify.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like you can only play the game for that month, and then you can no longer launch the game after the month is up.
Right. And they'll have a new slate of games the next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's less interesting.
Right.
Online play is free right now, but it will not be once this service starts up in September.
Which seems tricky. I mean, obviously they don't have the games part of the service right now. It's just online play. So it'll be interesting to see like the messaging of this, because like you're taking players from the ability to play online for free and then charging them money for it. It's like seems a little hard to market that.
Yeah.
And make it feel like it's good for consumers.
But also, it's $20 a year. It's less than $2
Sure.
a month. Who can't
that's true.
find less than $2 a month in their budget? Like
Yeah.
almost anybody can. If you find enough money to buy the Switch and all the peripherals in the games, you're gonna be able to find the money to buy the $2 a month.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like there's at least that, because PlayStation Plus is $60, Xbox Live is $60. Like this is coming in at a third of that.
Yes,
which is
but
pretty...
the games that you're getting on PlayStation and Xbox, you get forever.
Sure.
Assuming you keep the service, which is a different model. But yeah, you're right. It's not like it's the price gouging or anything. It's just purely from going, I could do this for free and now I can't, is maybe a tough sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo also announced that they're bringing a Mario Kart game to phones. It's called Mario Kart Tour, coming in early 2019. There's not really anything we know about this yet, but I don't know, man. I always say how I don't want to play games on phones. Who knows how this will turn out and how the controls will work.
Right.
Really curious. But I'm glad that they're at least sticking to their thing of like wanting to make phone games. Hopefully they're a little more fully baked than like the Mario Kart game, or the Mario or Magikarp game was, rather, and the Mario platforming game was pretty bad as well. So not a great track record thus far, but maybe they're learning some lessons. There's also a Mario movie in the works, made with Illumination Entertainment, the makers of Despicable Me and Minions. So basically, you can guarantee that this movie will be fucking terrible. It is being
It will
produced...
have a target audience, and that audience is not people over a certain age.
Or our mom.
Correct. 'Cause our mom loves Minions.
The target demo is 6-year-olds and 40-year-old women. Because 40-year-old women love Minions, let me tell you what. So yeah, Miyamoto is going to be involved. He's on as a producer, but so is I think his name is pronounced Chris Meledandri, I think is how you say his name. He executive produced the Minions movies, Secret Life of Pets, all those shitty Illumination animation films. So this is a pretty big bummer. With as many awesome CG animation studios as there are, going with Illumination bums me out because they're the worst.
Right, it's like the budget option.
Well, I mean, sort of, but their movies make a shit ton of money. It's more just like they're the least creative, I would say.
Yeah.
The most in line for manipulating to sell toys, which maybe makes sense why Nintendo chose them.
There you go.
But artistically, the least artistic.
Can't wait for those Mario movie amiibos.
Yeah. So, I guess this is going a little bit back to loot boxes and microtransactions and stuff, but I just found this to be interesting. So there's been a couple news stories here and there over the past several months of politicians getting into talking about loot boxes as gambling. So there's an actual bill in place now in the state of Washington that is being proposed as an investigation into loot boxes and microtransactions as being gambling. So there's no law around this yet, like making them illegal or any sort of like regulation on this. It's purely an investigation into the validity of loot boxes being gambling. So there's nothing bad. Like, no one can say this is bad. It's purely trying to learn more. Of course, EA has come out and been like, this is a waste of time. They're not gambling, because of course they are.
Yeah, they're a corporation who uses loot boxes. Of course they would say that.
Right. Important to note that this is purely in the state of Washington. This is not a national or an international thing. It's purely in the state of Washington right now. And that it seems to focus on the impact on minors in particular, because obviously minors can't gamble. And so if this was found to be a form of gambling, it would have to be regulated so that minors couldn't participate. So it's a pretty big deal, because this kind of thing could quickly escalate to being on a national or international level. There are already laws, which we talked about, like in China, where like on the App Store, they have to give percentage odds of loot boxes, like what you can get. Like there are laws around that in different countries.
Right.
So I would not be surprised whatsoever if the U.S. implemented something to the effect of this. The negative side is, like, not sure I want the U.S. government getting into video game stuff. Like, I'm not sure I want their impact here. Being able to self-regulate is far better than having the government do it for you. But we're kind of at a tipping point, a major tipping point with microtransactions and how it impacts consumers. So I'm not surprised at all that politicians are using it as a jumping off point of making news headlines, essentially.
Right.
So, a couple other small pieces. God of War is now coming out on April 20th. Getting it smoked. Killing some fucking gods, bro. But this wasn't messaged as being a delay, but I could have swore that they had a release date in March previous to this. So I don't know. Maybe it's a delay, maybe it isn't, but it is coming out April 20th. The same date as the Nintendo Labo stuff.
Right.
I'm still excited for this game.
Yo, dude, pick up your Labo kit and make a dope bowl.
Yeah. Cardboard
Bowl.
I imagine quite a few stoners will be burning themselves trying to create something with a Nintendo Labo and lighting it on fire. And I won't be sad for them at all. Rust is finally going to 1.0. Like, that early access game came out, 35 years ago?
Yeah.
But it's coming to 1.0
around the inception of the personal computer.
Right. It's coming out February 8th to be an actual release. They're raising the price from $20 to $35. And that game is already annoying because I would have liked to try it out, but that game is never on sale.
Right.
Like, it's never on Steam sales, nothing. And now they're raising the price. They also came out, and this is a quote, and they said, please try not to compare the game to other finished games. To which I'm like, what? You're saying this game is 1.0. That doesn't mean you can't support it and still fix bugs and work on the game, but if you're calling this a release and raising the price, there should be a reasonable expectation that the game is complete. That it isn't missing functionality or has major issues. That seems kind of shady, the way that was messaged. So it seems like just a reason to raise the price, to be honest.
Well,
like,
yeah,
nothing
or
really is
maybe
changing.
their sales are down, so they need some buzz.
Yeah.
And so they just say, oh, we're releasing 1.0 now.
It seems like a kind of shitty move.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems weird to me.
I don't know. Maybe the
they will obviously
struggling.
They will keep supporting the game. They did say that there will be less frequent updates because they'll be working on larger updates versus just small ones. Take that for what you will. We have a release window for the Banner Saga 3, which really makes me happy because I love both those other games. It's coming out this summer. There was like a little trailer, a character trailer. It looks cool. Don't really know that much else about it. Banner Saga is amazing. Everybody should play it. It's awesome. It's like Oregon Trail meets Game of Thrones. It's fucking good. We got some more news about the Crystal Dynamics Avengers project. So we talked about this last episode with Sean Eskig from Naughty Dog leaving to join Crystal Dynamics to work on Avengers. And now he has a title, so he is the creative director of this game. There are also some other folks that have joined the team. Stephen Barry, who was at Visceral for a really long time, is now their director of production, which, good for him. Visceral was just shut down a couple of weeks ago, so I'm glad he found something else. Yeah. There are some other folks coming over from other game series. They referenced the Battlefront series, Batman Arkham series, Call of Duty as being like previous studios that these people worked at. Ron Rosenberg, who is the co-head of Crystal Dynamics, has said they want players to be able to enjoy this game, quote, for years to come, end quote. So it's going to be some sort of games as a service, maybe like persistent online, multiplayer, whatever. No specificity to it yet, but I don't know, man. Crystal Dynamics has done a great job with Tomb Raider. I'm excited for this. It seemed like they have a lot of talent at their studio now. This could be really cool. They also came out and said it's not a tie-in to a movie or anything. It's like its own. It's like Insomniac's Spider-Man game where it's just the property. They're doing whatever they want with it, which is, I think, really good for creativity. So I think this game could be really fucking cool.
Well, because I know DCU Online did reasonably well, so I'm wondering if this is a Marvel answer to DCU Online, if it is going to be more of an MMO.
That's possible. I would say that would make me less interested.
Agreed. I'd be more interested if it was kind of like because the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games were a lot of fun. I'm wondering if it's going to be more of the top-down Diablo loot-based. Because I can see that as a game as a service. Because Diablo is technically a game as a service. They keep doing expansions and updates. So maybe this is kind of they're developing kind of that, like a framework within which they can add content to and do like maybe seasons like how Diablo does. I don't know. I'm interested to hear about what the heck this thing is.
Yeah, that could be fun. It's tough to me imagining a game that is like the full Avengers, assuming they have access to like the expanded roster of dozens and dozens and dozens of characters, how that would work. Like, do you pick one of 50 and play?
Because they'll have access to the X-Men now, right?
I don't know. I mean, yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean they would have them in the game.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like, because this is good timing for them to do it, because now that more of the Marvel characters are within the Disney umbrella, and so they have access to more of them.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll see. I mean, I'm pretty excited about this. I would assume it is very far off. If they're hiring leadership positions for this type of game, it can't have been in development for very long. So we'll see. It'll probably come out like 2022 or something crazy. Epic is shutting down support for Paragon. It is closing on April 26th, which this was, it was a hero shooter MOBA type thing.
Did not do very well.
Yeah, like it was at that time when everybody wanted to make a hero shooter / MOBA, and so plenty of them weren't going to succeed, and Paragon didn't.
Yeah, apparently early Paragon was reasonably successful. Like, people liked it. Like, there was a niche there that people who enjoyed it, and then they tried to make it more broadly marketable, and that kind of turned everyone off of it because it wasn't as good as the other broadly marketable MOBAs on market. But then it no longer had the niche crowd, and so it just kind of killed it from there, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame. Like, you don't want games to get shut down, but if it wasn't doing well, it sounds like... And I mean, they just put out Fortnite, so that game is making so much fucking money, so you can't be super surprised. They are offering refunds to basically everybody that purchased on PC or PS4, which is a nice move. So I don't know. I mean, I never checked it out because I don't really care about that genre of games, but I'm sure it had its audience, which sucks for them.
Yeah.
Red Dead has a release date. It's coming out on October 26th.
Hell yeah.
They put out like a new story trailer type of thing. I'm sure that game's going to be good.
Oh, yes. I have no doubt in my mind that game will be good because Rockstar are rock stars.
And then final story in the video game world. So the creator of Sonic has just joined Square Enix. And he's been kind of under the radar for a while. He left Sega in 2006. And he's been like working on his own little projects. I think some mobile games, stuff like that. And now he just joined Square in an undefined role. So it seems like weird that after all this time he would now join Square.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be put on an existing project or given his own team or what the deal is. But the dude certainly had some ideas. I'm in the camp of saying that maybe Sonic was never actually good.
Maybe Sonic was a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. But who knows? I don't know. Good for him. If something cool comes out of it, Good for Square Enix, too. Into the world of movies, not a lot of stuff. So there's a new trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I watched it. I'm pretty hyped for this movie. I found Ant-Man to be fun, if slightly forgettable. It seems cool. I really like how they're leaning more into what made Ant-Man really cool, which was the like playing with the scale kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The villain is Ghost, which I'm not familiar with. I don't really know who that is. But yeah, I don't know. It looks cool. It comes out in July 6th, I guess it is. Which like Marvel has a lot of movies coming out. Coming out. They got Black Panther in February, Ant-Man and the Wasp in July, and then Avengers, I think, comes out in May. So that's 3 big Marvel movies in this year, so it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I never saw the first Ant-Man movie, so I don't...
It's good. I mean, Paul Rudd, I fucking love Paul Rudd. And I love Evangeline Lilly, too. But
well, so is she in the first one?
Yes.
Okay. Well, now I gotta watch it.
Yeah, another reason I've been enjoying Lost, Evangeline Lilly. So yeah, and then so this is another rumor mill thing.
Oh my god!
But yeah, I know they talked about this on the Beastcast, and I really enjoyed their conversation.
Yeah.
So apparently, John Cena, WWE wrestler, is in talks to play Duke Nukem in a Duke Nukem movie, because that's a thing that could happen, and in the thing that makes more sense than maybe anything has ever made sense. The production studio attached to the Duke Nukem movie is Michael Bay's production company.
You know, I bet he could make a great Duke Nukem movie.
What do you mean by great?
Well, no,
I bet he could make it authentic.
The movie will be garbage, but it will be a great Duke Nukem movie.
Yes,
but no one wants to watch that
Duke Nukem movie.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, there was a good conversation from the Beastcast on like who they would cast as Duke Nukem, which I thought was funny because it was like, I don't want to cast good actors because I don't want to subject them to having to play Duke Nukem in the Duke Nukem movie. So what are actors that would do a good job but that we don't like?
Yeah, or what are actors that we don't like that we want to punish with the part of Duke Nukem?
Right. So the first one that jumped into my head, and it's not like I have anything against him, and he's probably too old to really pull it off, but the first guy that jumped into my head was Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, okay.
To play Duke Nukem.
Mine was...
Did you have any thoughts?
Because, like, my objective was, okay, we make a good Duke Nukem movie.
Right.
Ron Perlman.
I have an idea for that, too. Yes, I think Ron Perlman would be a great fit.
Yeah.
Again, I think he's probably a little too old to do the Duke Nukem
But, like, maybe
thing.
the Duke Nukem movie is old Duke.
Yeah, like
that could be fun too.
Last Action Hero type.
Totally.
Yeah,
like that could be a good Duke Nukem movie. Ron Perlman in that role, I would watch that movie. I don't know that I would watch any other scenario of Duke Nukem.
In another effort to make it good and get a good actor attached, I thought Josh Brolin could probably do a good Duke Nukem.
Yeah, Josh Brolin could do it too. I could see that.
I'm really excited to see him as Cable in Deadpool 2 and see how he kind of pulls that off, because similar characterizations. Duke is obviously a little more hammy than Cable is, but similar, like trying too hard to be a badass type of thing that Cable does. So I could see that. But John Cena seems like the right fit. If this movie happens, he seems like the right fit.
Well, how are you supposed to ever, like, it means he's just like not pictured in the movie? Don't
do that. Don't do that. Oh man,
pretty dumb.
And then final news story. It's not
something
really a
else
news
that's
story,
dumb.
But
in a good
loved
way.
This. I loved this. That's why I wanted to include it. So, what was it? What is it? So John Romero and Tom Hall, who are the two co-founders of id, they were going back and forth on Twitter recently talking about like the history of their games and their characters. And they have confirmed that canonically BJ Blazkowicz is the grandfather of Commander Keen, who is the father of Doom Guy. So BJ Blazkowicz is Doom Guy's great-granddad, basically. Which is just fantastic. Just so good.
Which also means Doom Guy is BJ Blazkowicz's son.
What?
Because if BJ Blazkowicz is the grandfather of Commander Keen, who's the father of Doom Guy.
No.
Oh, no, sorry. Doom Guy
Commander
is the
Keen.
great-grandson
Yeah,
of
that's what I said.
BJ. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I read that wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those feel-good news stories.
Man.
You know, like when you're watching the news and like there's all this shit about Trump and the economy and mass shootings and terrorism, and then they have the fluff piece about like a squirrel fashion show. That's what this was like. This is the squirrel fashion show. Doom Guy is related to BJ Blazkowicz, and it's awesome.
Good.
So, okay. Oh, good. We might be able to wrap this thing up in under 3 hours. I was a little worried that this was going to be like a 4-hour podcast.
It'll be close.
So, moving from a feel-good story to Hate of the Week.
Hate of the week.
So, Hate of the Week, I will frame this with a story, and then we can talk about the topic.
Take me away.
Yeah, let me paint a picture with words. So, I started a new job recently, and we had our sales kickoff to begin the year, which is where all the sales folks get together, brainstorm about new ideas. They do some like role play, basically like get ready for this new year to crush some sales. And because I just joined, and a big part of my job function is working with the sales team, I went to sales kickoff so I could kind of like shake hands, meet folks, put a name to the face, that kind of thing. And so I was spending a lot of time hanging out with a lot of the sales guys. And I don't want to make any generalizations about sales guys. I feel like it's pretty easy when I say generalizations about sales guys. Everybody kind of knows what I mean by that. So I'll give a specific example of what happened. This isn't me trying to like be a dick to this particular person, but this was my experience. So I'm at lunch with these guys. Conversation starts where like they're all talking about their $2,000, $3,000 watches and how one of the guys recently went to Africa and killed like ibex and like went big game hunting in Africa. Not like illegal, like he wasn't shooting elephants or anything, but like fucking crazy shit. And I was like, okay, so I don't get these people at all talking about their, like I'm wearing my $100 watch that I think is a great watch. It looks awesome as they're talking about the Rolexes and shit. Yeah. And like hunting in Africa. I don't have a frame of reference for any of that. But then, one of the dudes, who I would peg as like being late 30s, early 40s, starts talking about a recent vacation he took with his family to Harry Potter World. And how it was a great time for the kids because they're Harry Potter fans. But also, he basically went on a big tirade making fun of all of the like adults and young adults there dressed up like in costumes. Like buying wands, playing around like in their Harry Potter robes. And he called them fucking losers. And that's a direct quote. He said, these fucking losers in their Harry Potter robes, whatever. I didn't say anything. And my wife was very proud of me for this. Because I could and wanted to say something.
Oh, I would have.
Because fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Seriously? Fucking losers wearing their Harry Potter robes? Where do you get off determining what is cool and what is lame? And what I wanted to say is not like, I didn't want to like get aggressive because I just met this guy. But what I wanted to say was to put it in a frame of reference that he would understand. I'm a big football fan, as we've talked about. I'm going to assume that he's also a football fan. Would you go to a football game and wear an NFL jersey? Would you go and talk football with your buds? Maybe go tailgate, throw a football around, have some beers, grill up a burger ahead of time? Yeah, fucking yes you would. What the hell's wrong with that? That sounds like a great way to go to a football game. How is that any fucking different than people that go to Harry Potter World and want to dress up? How is it any different? The only difference is...
football's real.
Well, sure. But the difference is that society has deemed that football is cool and Harry Potter's lame. Like, adults that like Harry Potter are lame. Like, adults that like football and get crazy into stats and trades and drafts, that's still fine. Like, that's not lame. But if you read Harry Potter, you're a loser. Like, why does this ephemeral society that's made up of everyone, and frankly, like, when you think of society, you think of the shitty people. Why do they get to determine what is cool and what is lame? Fuck off. I'll do whatever the hell I want. And you better fucking believe that when Kelly and I go to Harry Potter World for an anniversary or whatever, because we will fucking go before we have kids, because I don't want my kids to ruin my experience at Harry Potter World. You better fucking believe we're going to buy wands and we're going to buy robes and we're going to have a pretend magic fight in the middle of it. You better fucking believe that's going to happen. And that's going to be one of the most fun experiences of my life. So fuck off, sales guy who thinks he's too cool to enjoy things and gets his enjoyment from making fun of and shitting on other people. It's just like, I turned 30 in 2 months. I have a lot of feelings about the fact that I turned 30 in 2 months. Most of them aren't great. But one of the things that make me feel okay about it is that getting older has not lessened my enjoyment of the things that I care about. I'm rereading through the Harry Potter books right now. I'm loving them as much as I loved them when I read them in high school. I still play video games. Like, I do all the shit that I used to do, and I still love it just as much. I have not let time make me look back on my experiences when I was younger with embarrassment. I'm not embarrassed of anything that I enjoy. I'm secure enough in myself for that. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sit by and let some fucker shit on the things that I like. It just, that makes me so angry. And it wasn't worth getting into a thing with the guy about it, because it's just not worth it. Let him be his closed-minded, judgmental self. But it's just, like, it makes me feel sorry for him, to be honest with you. Like, I pity him. Because I bet you, I'm making generalizations here, but that type of person, I bet, like, he was on the football team in high school, and he made fun of the nerdy kids, and he did all that shtick, and now, like, he's a fucking sales rep at a healthcare company. Who fucking cares? What are you doing that is cool about your life? And maybe he loves his life. I'm sure he's got a great family and he took him to Harry Potter World. That's awesome for his kids. But like, why do people have to get their enjoyment from ruining things for other people and shit talking about other people like that? It's sad.
Well, I feel sorry for his kids. Because, like, if that's how he views all those people, like, how excited his kids were to get to go to Harry Potter World, like, that's awesome for them. And then for, like, whether he's outwardly expressing it or not, that derision and, like, standing on his high horse, elevating himself above all of the people there, like, what kind of a father figure is that? Like, he's going to teach his kids to do that same shitty shit. Yeah. And that sucks, because that's just propagating more of that negative attitude and that, like, close-mindedness and reclusiveness of this, like, bro, guys be guys, you know, like, you're crying like a girl, like, all that stupid
it's that like, shit. Fragile masculinity jock mentality that, like, I have to be a horde. I've got to be a tough dude. I got to do dude stuff. Get this nerdy shit out of here. Right. Like, just be your own fucking person. Enjoy things. Because I could do the same thing. Like, you know, they're talking about their watches, the hunting, whatever. Hunting is maybe different because they're killing things. That's maybe, I have a legit argument for having a problem with that. But, like, I'm not going to make fun of him for liking watches. Like, I might think that that's a waste of money. But if that's the way, like, if that's his hobby, good for you, dude. I'm not going to make fun of you for that. So why would you make fun of me for my thing? You don't know anything about it.
Right.
It really got on my nerves. Because by and large, my other experiences with, like, the sales guys, like, there are a lot of guys that I talk to, like, almost every day that are super cool. I'm not making a generalization about sales guys in general. But this just one specific example with this one specific dude who was, other than that, perfectly fine. But that one thing that he said really, really rubbed me the wrong way. And at least a small part of me wishes that I would have said something. Not in an aggressive way, but just in a, like, really, that sounds fun to me. Like, that sounds fun. Like, really getting into the spirit of it.
That's what I would have been like, well, you don't like to, like, dress up? It's, like, that's a lot of fun. Yeah. And, like, just because you don't like to do it doesn't mean that, like, it's not cool. Like, you're not the author on cool, man. Yeah. And, like, you can do it. Right. You can do it in, like, I don't know, in an amicable way. Yeah. I mean, I believe there's an amicable way to say and do anything.
Sure.
At least 99.9% of things, other than like killing someone. There isn't really like a nice way to like murder someone when they don't want to die.
Yeah.
You know, there's not like a nice way to go about it to where they would feel okay. But you know,
well, maybe
most things.
Death through snoo snoo. That would be would be a feel good way of dying. So,
up until the very end, when you're just not into it anymore, and then it's like that's not comfortable. Even that's like, you know,
the mind is willing, but the body is bruised and whatever.
I don't remember what the line is. Yeah.
So yeah, really, really got on my nerves, and that was one of the things where like it was just a small little moment, but it's indicative of a much larger societal problem,
right?
Primarily with men. Although I would say a lot of women.
I think a lot of women
adult
propagate that.
Yeah, feel the same way. That like a lot of women would look at you and me as being nerds, like and being lame.
Yeah.
Just as many women as men would think that, and that's shitty. That's shitty.
I think so too. But, you know, then there are a lot of women who would look at the jock guys and be like, they're meathead idiots with, like, no redeemable qualities, when a lot of those guys are probably nice dudes.
Absolutely. That's true.
So it's both ways.
And I'm totally not trying to be hypocritical, too, because I know, like, I make fun of a lot of shit. But I'd like to think that I'm not actively judging some. Like, I think anime is kind of dumb, but, like, I'm not going to judge anyone for liking it. Like, if it brings you joy and it's not hurting anyone, enjoy it, dude. Enjoy it.
That's the way I feel about football. I only get frustrated with like people who are into football when they use it as an excuse to be shitty to each other. That's the only time I have a problem with it. So, like, do what you do what you love, and be good to each other.
Isn't that from Wayne's World?
Probably.
Be good to each other.
Be good to each other. Maybe it is. It's from something.
So yeah, that's been it's been on my mind, and honestly makes me want to go to Harry Potter World even more, so I can spite that guy.
Right.
Send him a picture.
Show up at the next thing with like
sales
pictures.
Kickoff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that would be so fun. So yeah, I guess before wrapping up the episode, because we haven't mentioned this in a while, I do want to remind folks that if you have any like thoughts on what we talked about or any ideas or questions, shoot us an email, info@SheaHatesEverything.com. You can also just like check out the Shea Hates Everything Facebook page or send me a message there, leave a comment. You can shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'm at Shea_Castle for the podcast. We haven't had questions come in for a bit, and maybe that's because we haven't mentioned it, so I'm going to mention it. It's not like we starve for things to talk about, but the more engagement, like that's just more enjoyable. I can look at my Podbean thing and see like how many downloads we got, how many people listened to it, where they were, all that kind of thing. But without actually like hearing from people, it's hard to know like, what are you liking? What are you not liking? What do you want us to talk about more? What do you want us to talk about less? Like maybe less football and mechanics, car mechanics.
Or maybe more of that. Like
maybe
no
more,
video games.
maybe more of that.
At that point, maybe find another podcast.
So yeah. But as always, I guess we can wrap up before we hit the 3-hour mark with stuff we don't hate. So today I don't hate Lost, and I feel obligated to specify that it's today. Today I don't hate Lost. Next episode, I might start it off with today I hate Lost, but today, only today, I do not hate Lost.
And today I don't hate when someone I respect professionally has good things to say about me.
You're welcome. You're referencing me, right?
No, not even close. So I went to my friend's, my co-director's birthday party. We went to a brewery, and one of the teachers, because I mean she's a teacher at the school, I aid and direct that and stuff too. She invited my fiance and I out for her birthday. So we did the thing. We met new couples that are her friends and stuff. We did the whole social thing, and then first period every day I'm with 4 of my kids in an English class. Out in an English class, I'm with them to help keep them on track and keep them organized. And there's a teacher, and he's he's a phenomenal English teacher. He also teaches Spanish and like a couple other English classes. He's extremely intelligent and eloquent, and he cares about the kids, and he kind of rolls with the punches really well. He's a phenomenal teacher, and he showed up there and he's like, yeah, and like, I'm really glad I got a chance to talk to you like one-on-one outside the school environment. Like, have you ever thought about being a teacher? And I was like, well, yeah, actually, that's kind of what I'm looking into, is like teaching theater and figuring out how I could do that. And he's like, yes, I feel like not everyone has it, and I feel like you have it because I watched the way you are with your kids. And like, he went on and on and on, and I was just like, oh my god, everything you're saying is so nice. It makes you feel so good.
That's awesome.
So today I don't hate that feeling, like that feeling of acknowledgement, and like, it was a really nice surprise to wrap up the night on Friday. It made me feel really good about what I do. Getting
respect from someone that you respect for the same thing, because like, you respect him as a teacher, and now you've learned that he respects you as a teacher. That's a really good feeling.
That's great feeling. I don't hate that at all.
That's good. That's a good thing not to hate. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Kyle, as always, thank you for joining me. And everybody, just remember to check out SheaHatesEverything.com so you can read some opinions on video games, movies, television, comics, books, and other shit that matters. We will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.